Would make it this far, they hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball, I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic gotta say, I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life, I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitting for it, cause you all cap like. Hold up, I shoot my shot, wait, hold up. I'm really about to run this, go up. You know it's all net when it go up. Ain't got no other plans, you don't need to understand, ayy. When on overtime, you don't need to understand, ayy. You just show them how to do it when you don't know what to say. Tell me how you plan to win if you plan to play the same.
Moving fast, already gone, yeah, but you bringing me back. Try to double cross me, dog, just let me relax. Stop assuming what we doing. Keep it moving, what we doing. Cause it can get bigger, cause it can get
please don't play no games with me.
All right. MCP, that is good. Oh, we are back in the building. Happy Thursday. It's one day away from hump day. Well, one day past hump day, sorry. One day past hump day. One day away from TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. Oh, man. Salute. We got so much to build on today. Excuse the inconsistency a little bit. I'm transitioning right now, moving around a lot of things here. We just come off a crazy weekend. Well, 3-4 days ago, crazy weekend. Things are culminating and moving through the space at light speed. News shaking up the boxing algorithm right now as we are officially, in my personal opinion, in a new era. Yeah. A new era of boxing. Shout out to Max Kellerman because I do co-sign the sentiment that we are now in the golden era of boxing and people are dealing with this new transition. There's transitional pains for some people in the space, and there's obviously a lot of vindication for a lot of people in the space who've been pushing this, who's been on this campaign, part of this journey of trying to see boxing join, get in this space, right? And I think for some people, they might not feel it yet. It's kind of like a recession, right? They say normally, well, it's not like a recession, but I mean the idea of a recession being that normally by the time they call it a recession, it's probably been a recession for like 3 months, right? For at least a quarter before the recession was called out. And I think this case right now, we are presently in that golden era of boxing. It's shaking the space up. Terence Crawford is in the driver's seat finally in an official way. He was an underground king who wasn't crowned, right? He was the rightful king that should have been on the throne. He was what boxing should have celebrated, right? He's what boxing should have revered, but wasn't. He was frozen out. They weren't giving him the opportunity. He couldn't get the fights. He was always on the wrong side of the conversation, and they can only hold a good thing down for so long, right? That can only happen for a certain amount of time period before ultimately that one opportunity comes. And as the old saying goes, and it's consistent, if we stay ready, we never have to get ready. Terence Crawford been preparing himself for this moment for since the beginning of his career as a professional, and probably since he first put on a pair of boxing gloves, since his mother first paid that first $5 out to get his, to get his butt whipped. He's been preparing for this moment, and he passed with flying colors. Clearly, the space is pushing back. Some people are celebrating. Already, we have the detractors who want to put Terence Crawford in front of the most dangerous fighters in the world. They still say he hasn't done enough. They still say he hasn't proven himself, that he's not that guy, and the only way that he could truly do that and get that head nod from certain people in the community is by ultimately suffering the worst case scenario, which is a fatal blow to the head, and to be KO'd or stopped or to be debunked. That's the only thing that will satisfy these people, right? So we're going to talk about what the next steps are going to be for Terence Crawford, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, where do we want to see, do we need to see more from him, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot moving on with the Terence Crawford situation. Like I said, in the driver's seat, on his throne right now, and the whole boxing space anticipating, waiting patiently. We probably won't hear back from him as far as what he's going to do with his career for the next 2 to 3 months, maybe even longer than that. And I'm sure the narratives and the stories will build up until we hear something one way or the other, what he's going to do, right? It is what it is. It is what it is, right? That being said, we also have more news in the space that's come out. We've got Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez getting that much closer to actually coming to fruition, but we have a little twist. There's a little twist to the story. Looks like the PBC, look, guys, it looks like that whole entire rollout we saw with Stephen Espinosa and Shakur Stevenson there might have been a little bit more to it, right? So all the people that saw that interview between on Sway's universe, shout out to Sway, and we saw Sway mediate or provide a platform for both Shakur Stevenson and Stephen Espinosa to meet up and iron out their differences. It looks like there might have been a reason for it, right? As news is coming out now that, and it's just rumors right now, but Boxing Scene has put out some information that this Shakur Teofimo Lopez fight, might not be in Riyadh, would actually be in New York or in the United States, and B, a crazy curveball. The promotional company that might be putting it out there is going to be the PBC, and Turkey's going to be funding that, right? So we got to break that down and address this on multiple levels. We need to understand what this relationship between the PBC and Shakur and Teofimo, two fighters, for all argument's sakes, that should be free agents to a certain degree, right? We're looking at Shakur Stevenson, who's just coming off of his deal with Matchroom, and we haven't heard about him signing to anybody. He confirmed on that show with Stephen Espinosa that he is a free agent. And then we're looking at Teofimo Lopez, who's supposedly either one of two things or both, which is an ambassador of some sort for Ring Magazine. Some sort of 3-fight deal was done with Ring Magazine. And then also, we need to understand, how does that relationship work between Top Rank and Teofimo Lopez? Is that relationship actually severed and done with? For all argumentative purposes, is Teofimo Lopez a free agent as well? And if they're both free agents, how is the relationship going to work with the PBC? Is this going to be a deal? Is PBC signing both of these guys? Or are they just working now with independent fighters? And then, of course, the Turkey part of it is finally what people have been asking for. A lot of people have been asking for. I'm sure a lot of the fans in the space are going to feel we'll see how they deal with it, being that most PBC fans have pretty much been against the idea of Turkey, what he's been doing, what he's been moving forward with. How does that space embrace the idea of Turkey potentially announcing his relationship with the PBC as a financier of the promotional company that may put PBC directly back on top of the map? A lot of people want to see the PBC return back in rare form like they used to be, but I think there's little argument at this point. There was a lot of argument before, but at this point, there is a financial elephant in the room that's always been kind of hovering over the topic of the PBC. And if Turkey can check that box, we might see the PBC return like we've never seen them before, which would be a great thing, right? Because I think a lot of people want to see that. They want to see the PBC succeed, and we're going to push back on the idea that people want to see the PBC fail. I don't think that's necessarily what it is. Now, I'm sure there are detractors out there who want to see the PBC fail, but I think more so they want a more realistic sustainable business model that not only supported the fighters and supported black fighters, if you want to say, but also supported the idea of the best fighting the best and things of that nature. We may get the best of both worlds. We may get the matchmaking, the financing, the vision of Turkey Alashik combined with the promotional capacity and the ability of the PBC, who clearly has the support of American boxing at the highest level. If he can bring that all together, we might be looking at something beautiful, right? A beautiful gumbo maybe getting mixed up in the background that we're not aware of. We'll talk about that as well. Tszyu in the news yesterday puts out information pretty much announcing that he's going to be separating from his management team and his coaches. He's going to make the changes. Finally, in my opinion, Tszyu looks like he's going to be addressing the real elephant in the room when it comes to him and his career. We'll talk about that today because the question is it too late? Should this have been done a long time ago? Will these changes make a difference? Are we potentially seeing a resurgence of Tszyu to come back where he left off of before the Sebastian Fundora fight? We'll talk about that as well. The rumors are still circulating, talking about Errol Spence and Jermell Charlo potentially negotiating for something in early 2026. I used to throw rocks at the ideas of these fights coming together, but now with Turkey Alashik supposedly, potentially, rumor having it, being involved in what's happening with the PBC and facilitating potentially a space for the PBC to put on big fights. Notably in the crosshairs right now would be the Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson situation. Then there's possibilities there as well. We know money moves the needle a lot when it comes to these conversations. So we're going to talk about that as well. What else is going on in the space that we need to talk about? Teofimo, we'll talk about all those things, right? And of course, we'll open up the panel for the usual suspects to come up here, build, share some perspective on how they're feeling on the current topics. And then we out of here, bro, right? We out of here and we on to the next one until the next show, right? Salute to everybody who is in the building. We got 33 people right now in the building. So salute to all of you guys, man. Take a moment, hit that like button. Let's do that ASAP. Let's help that for the algorithm. I hear it helps the channel grow. So, I wouldn't know all the way, right? But do it anyway. It's for free, right? If you haven't subscribed to the channel, take a moment, go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well. That always helps as well. Oh, yeah, and of course, we got another elephant in the room, and we're going to talk about it, of course. I'm sure some Tank fans may or may not like it. We got to talk about it. It's in the news. So it looks like Davis Paul is getting moved as Georgia, the commission, the athletic commission in Georgia have officially pushed back at that fight happening in their state, which I'm not surprised. I think any real athletic commission should take a real look at this quote-unquote exhibition and really, I think some decisions are getting to the point now where certain decisions certain conversations should be had now about some of these exhibition fights. I think obviously, what Tank is doing is his business, but boxing in general, we'll talk about that, of course. So now I'm hearing they're pushing for it to happen in Miami. I'm not too sure if Miami's actually pulled the trigger on that fight happening, if they're going to actually let it happen, or if they're just announcing it and trying to build up some sort of, hunger for it, you know what I mean? Some sort of wanting, some sort of traction with the promotion. Obviously, there's a lot of casual fans who are embracing the idea of that fight coming together. I won't lie to you. I'm very indifferent with the fight. I think the fight makes no sense. I think aesthetically, just looking at the fight, it makes absolutely no sense to me. But hey, man, what I eat don't make everybody ish. You know what I mean? Or nobody else ish. So that's up to them. But we'll definitely talk about that. Now Tank Davis and his team kind of earning a reputation now of consistently being inconsistent. Very hard to believe what they're saying. We saw this happen in Houston. We saw this happen with the Lamont Roach fight. We saw this happen with when it came time to make that first fight on Amazon, when finally the Frank Martin fight was announced. And we're seeing it happen again right now. Once again, like a broken tape. We're 2 months away from when this event is supposed to happen in November, and still no venue locked in. They gaslighted the boxing space. People started buying tickets, hotels, things of that nature, thought there was a date. They advertise it, and now casually, without any type of accountability, they are canceling or an event that was clearly never even put together and moving it to Miami. So We'll talk about that and for whatever it's worth and how that may or may not be affecting boxing at this point, right? I mean, and then we're going to talk to the elephant in the room. This is the golden era of boxing. So this is also the golden era of the Claymore Reign show. We will be speaking a little bit more frankly. We will be challenging a little bit more the ideas that are going on out here. We will be speaking more to power a little bit. I hope you enjoy it, right? I hope you enjoy it because we're definitely there. I'm definitely there, right? Boxing needs me to be there. Boxing needs this platform to be there. So we're going to answer the call, right? All hands on deck. We will answer the call and we will speak truth to power here and speak on this sport that we love and speak about it in its all totality, right? Love it, hate it, like it, do what you do, right? Hit the like button while you're in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Sub to the channel if you haven't done it. Let's go ahead and do a little roll call in the building. As I see, we got a lot of people popping in, taking their time to pop in. I always salute you guys for being here because I know there's a lot of places you can be, a lot of great content creators out there doing their show right now and a lot of not so great content creators too. But if you're choosing to be here with me, man, I got to thank you guys, man. When you got options and you choose to be here with me, you heard? We got to keep it real. We got to show love to the guys who show love back. Like my dude, Fighting World with Bang says, because we love the love. Salute to Alfonso causing the building says, hello, bruh, with the shades on. Salute, family. Warrior Class 3 in the building says, salute, Claymore. Let's go. Devontae Richardson in the building said, nah, I can get jiggy with this time, Clay. Peace and love. Shaba. Yeah, man, I had to play the YG Marley. I'm sure that this show is not being monetized because of that, because of me using that song, or I'm splitting. I guess I'll be splitting the AdSense with YG. Hey, man, small price to pay. I think the song really captures the energy of where we are right now with boxing. Personally, I feel vindicated. You know, Terence Crawford didn't just win that fight. He won it for himself, but he brought along a lot of supporters. A lot of people who've been supporting Terence Crawford up until this point came right along with him across that victory line, man. And there was a lot of tears shedded. I didn't shed no tears. It's not really my forte to necessarily do that, but my spirit did. Really was a victory for boxing as well. So I thought that song captured that energy. I thought that song really captured the energy of the feeling I had this morning. And, so YG, enjoy your half of the AdSense, man. Shout out to Ross Cott in the building. Mr. Your favorite boxer's a bum in the building says, salute, Clay. TC has placed himself amongst the all-time greats from past and future. What? Yo, let me tell you something. For Ross Cott to put something like this on here, that man is so raw, pause, if it needs one, and so real on this boxing and has such a high standard and doesn't celebrate these boxers very easily at all. I mean, your favorite, there's a reason why I tell you he's AKA your favorite fighter's a bum, because everybody's a bum. So for him to put a statement out here talking about he's placed himself amongst the all-time greats from past and future with the fire emoji, hoping to God that was not a cynical comment, that wasn't sarcastic, that was Ross Cott speaking his truth. That is a huge amount of accolades for Ross Cott to go ahead and give what I consider an all-time great. And I'll add to it, Ross Cott, and say a generational GOAT. What? Huh? Yeah, I said it. A generational GOAT, man. Without a doubt, Terence Crawford has transcended boxing as we know it in this present moment in time and has put his name in conversations with the greats before him, with the GOATs before him. Now you'll hear debates going on channels about Terence Crawford fighting Sugar Ray Leonard, fighting Floyd Mayweather. What would he have done against Sugar Ray Robinson, marvelous Marvin Hagler? Do you think he would have ran it with Tommy the Hitman Hearns? What do you think he would have done with the legends? He has transcended boxing today as the casuals know it, and he has now become a standard. He's become a standard. Can you get this high? Will your career get this type of success like this fighter's career did? 42-0, 3-weight class undisputed, 5-weight class champion, 3-time lineal champion. And what did you do with your career? Yes, a standard. A standard. We'll talk about it. Shout out to my guy, Ross Scott. AK Crowder in the building. Salute. AK crowd in the building with the blessings, like a damn super chat, man. Always appreciate seeing you in the building. Shout out to my guy, Talk of SD in the building. Yo, Talk of SD, we're gonna be working together soon in some form of capacity, man. The West Coast and the East Coast may come together and do something special. We don't know yet. You know what I'm saying? We talking a little bit in the back scenes, man, but we're definitely trying to expand. And which, like I said, man, being used by boxing to make boxing great again, man. Anything we can do, right? Talk of SD. Shout out to you, brother. Matthew, man, Hunt, Walters in the building. Salute to you, family. Says salute, family. Salute to you, man. Glad to see you in the building, man. Cornelius Bennett with the player from the Himalaya. Salute, Cornelius Bennett. How you doing, family? How you? Says Cornelius Bennett says, so you think promoters would deal with Bud? We'll talk about it. It's beyond that. Like, as I said it, Cornelius, I said this earlier and I'll say it again, transcended. Terence Bud Crawford has transcended the politics of boxing. He's transcended negotiating with regular promoters. We're talking to Oscar De La Hoya, or talking to Bob Arum, or talking to Eddie Hearn, or having a conversation with Frank Warren, or any Ben Shaloms, whoever it is, that Al Heyman, whoever. He's transcended that. The question is, will Bud deal with all the promoters? What promoters will he deal with versus who he will not deal with? He is the standard. He is the standard now, and the boxing space is having a hard time dealing with it. But as we can tell, 70,000+ people in the arena show that the people who don't understand won't understand and don't need to understand because they no longer move the needle in the space. Terence Bud Crawford is officially him. He is the guy. He is the civilian, the peasant who pulled the sword from the stone and became the true king. He is the king author of boxing. He was the uncrowned king, but now he has officially been crowned. There's no more dispute about Terence Crawford. There's no more dispute. The only dispute today is, what is your fighter doing? Will your fighter accomplish a quarter percentage of what he's accomplished? What are the new boxers in the game? The Abdullah Masons, the Xander Zayases, the Brian Norman Juniors, right? The Zaquin Moseses, all the new contenders that are coming up to become champions. What are they striving to be? And how does that benefit boxing? I think it benefits boxing in a great way, right? So will the promoters deal with Bud? Respectfully, Cornelius Burnett, I think that statement may be beneath Bud at this point. Quite frankly, it may legitimately be beneath him at this point to even have to answer a question like that. Shout out to my guy, CJ Ricks, boxing in the building, boxing in the BS with the $5 holler supporting the channel. Thank you, King. I appreciate you. All support for the channel is appreciated, man. It helps us. It helps us more than you can imagine. Any little bit helps us, man. And I'm getting to that place now to where I'm embracing everybody with the color in the chat, because that really helps channels like this grow, helps me potentially get, one day, you never know. Who knows? I may be able to walk away from the regular part of my life and I may be able to focus on this boxing space in a real big way, right? We're talking about a morning show every day, and I can, travel and interviews and events and all the things that I could do if this channel, supports me the right way. So I appreciate every little bit. Thank you. CJ Rich Boxing says, they calling me Mr. Bill Collector right now. Or they owe you money? CJ, they owe you money? Are they ducking you? Oh, man, bro. Good, great, beautiful problems to have. Making my rounds and getting paid. My technical analysis was a crystal ball on this one. 100%, man. CJ, 100%, man. And I was right there along with you, man. And I was calling pretty much what I saw in that fight, smothering the offense of Canelo Alvarez, movement being too much for Canelo Alvarez to deal with, the adjustments Canelo Alvarez wasn't able to make, neutralizing Canelo Alvarez's jab with that southpaw stance, using his jab to dominate over his jab. It was just awesome. Great inside work, great defense. Bud showing that he can catch punches. He doesn't have to take as much risk as people think he does, but at the same time, taking risk where he had to and winning those exchanges, dominating and winning this fight, in my opinion, anywhere from 10 to 2 rounds or better. I know the scorecards didn't look that way. I don't think the scorecards really accurately represented what we saw in that fight. I'm seeing a lot of people pushing back, people believing it was 7-5, 8-4. Hey, man, to each their own. A victory is a victory as far as I'm concerned. But Terence Bud Crawford showed that there's levels to this game and recalibrated the mind state of the current boxing fan, and now maybe even change the the view or the perspective on what Shakur Stevenson brings to the game and what he would do against a Tank Davis, or what some of your favorite fighters would do against each other. I keep telling you guys, keep your eyes on the Xander Zayas of the game, the movers, the punchers, the boxers, the people with the IQ. Skills pay the bills, and the sweet science is undefeated. Watch out for Virgil Ortiz and Erickson Lubin. Pay attention to that fight. It may go with how people think it should go, which is to the power and the explosive presence of one fighter, but the sweet science and the skill set of another fighter could completely change the trajectory and derail some people's plans on that day. It is what it is. Bubs, what you doing here? Shout out to Bubs Boxing. Bubs, I seen you out there, bro. Woo, Bubs, man. I see you out there, bro. I see you out there, brother. I see you out there, brother. We're gonna shout out to Bubs Boxing, man. AK Crowder in the building. Warrior Class 3 with the $5 holla in the building. Hey, we got 2 super chats starting off this morning. I appreciate you. Warrior Class 3 in the building says, salute Claymore. Since Bud accomplished everything, does Bud need to fight champions? Only collect all the belts at 154 and 160 to become undisputed? Bud can do whatever he wants to do, and we're going to talk about that today, because we do need to have a real conversation about what Bud should do. Bud should do obviously whatever he wants to do. What do I want to see Bud do? We'll talk about that. What Bud could do. We'll talk about that. And we'll talk about, the hit piece that's being made on Bud. He can't win. He can't win. Now it seems, we'll talk about it. We're going to talk about it all, man. Shout out to Bruce Gas Boxing in the building. Scholar amongst scholars in the building. Bruce Gas, how you doing, King? What's good, OG? Did you enjoy the fight on Saturday? You've been waiting on boxing to show up. Did boxing show up for you on Saturday, Bruce? How did it make you feel on Saturday, man? I know the fight was late. I know the undercard was decent, but I know the order of the undercard. Like, I felt Serhii Bahachuk should have been on the main card. Maybe they should have put Muhammad Akalel on that prelim card. Maybe he could have headlined the prelim card if they wanted to do that for him as his first 10-rounder fight. Fernando Vargas and Caleb Walsh probably shouldn't have been the co-main event. Clearly, there's an argument there to say that Christian Mbili versus Lester Martinez should have been the co-main event of that fight. But all in all, taking everything into consideration, what a great event. How do you feel about that sweet science of boxing, Bruce Gas? Talk to me, man. Talk to me. Cornelius Burnett says it'll do more than 41 million views. Probably because the space is, and we'll talk about that, right? Yeah, they did 41 million views. Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, too, supposedly did more views. Obviously, we know Mike Tyson and Jake Paul did the most views on Netflix. Keep in mind, this is a new space. So, these type of numbers are 41 million is still impressive, but will Jake Paul and Gervonta Tank Davis get more views? Quite possibly, but that's not necessarily a compliment on boxing. That doesn't necessarily represent what boxing should be. Might more so represent what boxing is at that moment. It might also represent what the real problem with boxing is. And another conversation has to come out on the other side of that indeed, if Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez doesn't sell more than Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis, well, what does that speak to as far as the current state of boxing, good or bad thing, right? We can talk about all that when we get to that point. Shout out to Cornelius Burnett. Says maybe because things keep changing, not because of that. Maybe, who knows? Virgil Wimbley in the building. Salute Virgil Wimbley in the building. Says, what's good, Claymore and Chat Heads? What's good with you, man? My God, Teach, man. Teach, I know you from one of these islands or something, man. I don't know. I can't remember. I'm sure you told me at some point, man. But salute to you, man. Boxing is in a good space right now. We're going to deal with the detractors, but at the end of the day, come on to the light. The doors are always open, man. Matthew Manhunt said you saw the mega card on December 27th. I haven't seen the card yet. Card yet, man, but I believe that I haven't seen it yet. I haven't looked at it. I'll just leave it like that, right? No doubt. Chris Legg in the building says, I'm late. What's good, Mr. Rain in chat? Salute, Chris Legg. What's good with you, family? SOB TV in the building says, salute, Claymore. Blessings, my brother. Salute to you. My God, grassroots supporter, Eastside Easy in the building. What up, Eastside? What's good with you, family? Let's see here. Sylvester Salamoa. 2011 says Stevenson versus Tank Davidson needs to happen next. We're going to talk about that. I legitimately think there's a possibility now of that fight potentially happening. And I'm going to explain why and where I see that coming full circle. If it does come full circle, I'll tell you where I see the possibilities, right? Of course, we're going to speculate heavy today. That's all we can do. for from time to time, but it's going to be some good speculation going on today. You guys let me know what you think about it. It is what it is, right? I might have to do like showbiz and go get my aluminum foil hat today and jump into my conspiracy theories today. But I got an idea about where boxing could go and where that whole entire story may finally end up going. Where out of all this time through this journey, through the Gervonta Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson conversation, we saw how long it took for Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez to develop into the fight that it ended up being, ups and downs and people not believing what was going to happen. But it does seem like it ended up happening when it was all said and done, when the smoke was cleared. Is that the destiny of Shakur Stevenson versus Gervonta Tank Davis? We'll talk about that as well, right? We'll talk about it. Delani, fam, sports in the building. Salute, salute, salute. Delani, what's good with you? My brother, salute to Blue Blood Sports TV in the building. Salute, my guy. We talked a little bit earlier today, man, about this boxing. And Blue, like I told you earlier, man, and I told the chat, man, it's a golden era of boxing, baby. So this is a golden era of the Claymore Rain show. We're going to be speaking a lot more truth to power, getting past the silliness of it all, speaking to the elephants in the room and doing what we're supposed to do, playing our part and making this sport the #1 sport in the world. No more, coddling the weak. We're going to get rid, cut the fat. Let's speak to it. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and everything in between, right? So everything can get it. Anybody can get it. Be on point with your game, man. Somebody might even say I'm here. I'm with the smoke. Who knows? Who knows, right? Shout out to my guy, Adel Choice in the bit. Adel Choice in the building. Walaikum salam, King. I hope everything is good with you, man. Good to see you in the building. Big Sarge in the building says facts. Big facts. Yeah. Let's get it, man. Let's see. Let's continue to go down here. Did I get everybody? I've been going down the list. I think we got everybody. Big Tim 4-5 in the building. Click, click. Boom. Salute Clay. Bud celebrating September 27th. Hometown hero. As he should. Anonymous in the building said that fight will not happen. I'm assuming he's talking about the Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson fight. Look, I'm not saying it is going to happen, but I do have a way for it to happen. I have a vision for it to happen, but clearly you can't force a horse to drink water. And if Tank don't want it, that's the main important part about making this happen. So it is what it is, right? But we'll entertain it today. We'll play a little bit, make believe a little bit, and I'll tell you how I see it happening if it does happen, right? It is what it is, man. Fernando Vargas Jr., not his father, not yet at least, right? But I mean, Fernando Vargas, he's not his father. He's not. You're right. He's not. Let's see here. Country Q25 in the building. Salute, Country Q. What's good with you, family? What's good? All right, man. So let's go to it. Let's speak to it. Immediately speak to Terence Crawford. Let's continue that conversation. That is the hot topic of the day. It's a hot topic of the week. And like I said to you guys earlier today, in the rightful space on the throne, Terence Bud Crawford, undeniable at this point, undisputed on multiple weight classes. You just cannot take away from him. You can only hate on him or celebrate him, right? There's no more in between. Now conversations are ringing out throughout the whole entire boxing space about, and that's why I asked the question on my short. If you guys seen one of my shorts that I put there, I said to you guys, which Canelo Alvarez was the better Canelo Alvarez? Who beat the better Canelo Alvarez? Was it Bud? Was it Dimitri Bivol? Or was it Floyd Mayweather? And amazingly enough, we got a huge reaction. A lot of response to that video, a lot of comments, a lot of engagement. And I got to be honest with you, it was split damn near evenly. People who felt like Floyd fought the better Canelo Alvarez because he was younger, he had his legs under him better, he was more athletic, he was in better shape. People who think that Bud fought the better Canelo Alvarez because he was in his own weight class. He was a stronger fighter. He was acclimated. He had the experience of fighting Floyd, of fighting Erislandy Lara, of fighting Miguel Cotto, of fighting Shane Mosley, of fighting Triple G 2 or 3 times, of fighting Dimitri Bivol even through a loss. He had all these experiences and all these championships and all these multiple weight class champions that he beat, that ultimately, when it was all said and done, Terence Bud Crawford may have fought the best Canelo Alvarez. And as I thought about it, it didn't really matter that much, right? And really that conversation and that whole entire video was on the back end of me and Blue Blood having a little bit of a, friendly debate between brothers, you know what I'm saying? Super respectful, but a conversation directly after the fight in reference to who fought the better Canelo. And Blue Blood said, listen, man, you can't say one way or the other. Canelo was consistently himself throughout all these fights. And the reality is that all these guys beat Canelo because Canelo was always showing the weaknesses that he showed against Terence Crawford. And I understood where Blue was coming to, but obviously I pushed back at the idea because why did I push back? I pushed back at the idea because I don't believe fighters stay the same. I believe there's an evolution for fighters one way or the other, right? In other words, fighters can evolve into being the better versions of themselves, or they can devolve into being the worst version of themselves. They can digress based on the competition that they're fighting against, or they can get better if they're properly holding themselves accountable and making the proper adjustments and improvements as they go on through their career. And I had to believe that Canelo Alvarez that fought against Terence Crawford was the more well-rounded fighter. Was he as athletic as the one that Floyd fought? Probably not. He was 35 years old, and when he fought Floyd, he was like 25, 23 years old, somewhere in that age range. It was a complete different conversation. But at the same time, was he mentally stronger? Was he mentally more fit? Did he have more experience, more to reference? Should he have had more tools in his bag? Should he have more wrinkles in his game than he did when he fought against Floyd? I thought that should go without saying, right? Now, his ability to go ahead and execute on the knowledge, or his ability to execute on what it was, may have to do, one, with his limitations just as a fighter, and two, maybe his athletic ability to be able to go ahead and carry out with the Canelo Alvarez, with the health and the body and the youth of the Canelo Alvarez who fought Floyd Mayweather, giving Floyd Mayweather Jr. a different fight. Me personally, yes, I believe he would have, right? But you never know. You never know out here. The reality is we won't ever know. Hold on, my phone is ringing in my pocket. You'll never know. And it's just a conversation. But when you're having conversations like that about a fighter, it says one thing's for sure about them, that they're special, right? When the conversation has to get that deep, when you're wondering what Terence Crawford did versus what Floyd Mayweather did, or what Terence Crawford did versus what Sugar Ray Leonard did, or what any of these fighters did, what you're ultimately saying without saying it is Terence Bud Crawford is a special fighter. Right? When you're not talking about him amongst what people will call his peers, or, the people inside of his era, because he's transcended that. Now that that's being said and done, we're hearing people now pushing for him to fight David Benavidez, which I'm gonna be real with you guys, I find that to be hilarious. I find it to be hilarious, but at the end of the day, tried true. What do I mean by tried true? Tried true in the fact that haters are going to be haters. And we give people, what I've learned about being in this YouTube space, in this boxing community, is that we give people way too much credit in this space. Sometimes stupid people are just stupid. It just is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it, right? It's hard to wrap your mind around what goes through the mind of an ignorant person, a person who can't see past their nose, a person who's just dialed in and focused in on hating, a person who believes supporting their fighter means not disagreeing with anything that they do, supporting them no matter what they do, and tearing down anybody who they deem to be on the opposite side of a conversation from their fighter. Trying to reason or understand or resonate with however they stand is a waste of your time. And from afar, people can't tell who is who if you're mixing and matching and entangling yourself with any Tom, Dick, and Harry that has a point of view in boxing. So naturally, as crazy as it may look from the outside looking in, naturally, you would expect them to do what they did and what they're doing right now, which is trying to put Terence Crawford in an ultimate, in the best case scenario, they want to see him lose, right? That's what it is, right? When you look at the storyline of David Benavidez, and you look at the fact that Canelo Alvarez wouldn't fight David Benavidez because calling him a weight bully, When you look at the idea of David Benavidez finally going up to 175 pounds where he is now, he's not even in the same division as Terence Crawford anymore. When you look at the fact that he's not only trying to become undisputed and fight the likes of a better Biev or Dimitri Bivol, that he's actually entertaining going up to even cruiserweight to challenge Zurdo Ramirez for his titles in the cruiserweight division, that he's even talked about going up and ending his career in the heavyweight division. If you hear somebody after all of that also hearing David Benavidez says he would not fight Terence Crawford because Terence Crawford's not even in his weight class, it's not a fight he would even entertain. Anybody who's pushing that narrative now to even ask David Benavidez to cut back weight and come back to 168 to fight Terence Crawford, or for Terence Crawford to hang out at 168 to fight David Benavidez, ain't nothing good going to come out of that, ladies and gentlemen. There's just a lot of hating going on, a lot of nonsense. And we can call and speak to the elephants in the room and say that some people just got that hate in their blood. It's just in their blood and they can't help it. They've been compromised, right? They've been compromised. You know what I mean? Challenge. They want to see Terence Crawford lose so bad. So that's what they want to see him do. And we can't do nothing but laugh at these guys. But I'll tell you one thing for sure, two things for certain. Terence Crawford clearly is not moving to the beat of drum of any of these fans. These fans didn't support Terence Crawford when he was struggling. They're not going to support him now. And if Terence Crawford is honest with himself, which I believe him to be a man who's honest with himself, you guys don't matter. You just don't matter. You don't move the needle. You weren't part of the 70,000+ people inside the arena, all right? You weren't part of the people who put the money in his pocket, maybe not even part of the 41 million viewers. There's a space in boxing big enough now to support Terence Crawford for who he actually is, and is only wanting to see him do great things. They don't need to see him lose. They just want to see him fight the best. They don't want to put him in situations where all the odds are against him. They don't want him to act like a B-side throughout his whole career. They don't mind him carrying himself like an A-side fighter, like a champion. They want to see that man be great. There's enough people who are supporting it now to get Terence Crawford his biggest payday, to get him on the biggest stage inside of Allegiant Stadium in front of the biggest crowd, to beat the pound-for-pound face of boxing, Canelo Alvarez. There's a space ready to support Terence Crawford in that, and he no longer needs to pay attention, and he never has paid attention to the voice of the detractors. And we here at ATP, on the ATP Combat Media Show, aren't hearing you guys either. So that being said, where does Terence Crawford move on from here? What is the next move? Clearly, we cannot speak for Terence Crawford, right? We can't speak for Terence Crawford. Clearly, he's a man. He's a man on his own accord who's earned the right to move as he sees fit. As Andre Ward said in that fight, he's a warrior who's earned his right to eat. Yeah. He's earned his right to eat, and he will, as he sees fit. But if you're asking for my opinion on what I think Bud does or what he should do, for me, it's one of a few things, right? First of all, the question is Terence Bud Crawford's appetite for greatness, has it been satiated? There's an argument there to say that Terence Crawford has accomplished everything that there is to accomplish for a fighter of his stature at this point. 3 weight class undisputed, that's a pretty tall task to carry out, and he did that. 5 different weight classes, he's already did that. Does Terence Crawford want to double down and maybe go down to 160 and aim for a 6 weight class to not only get a belt in, but maybe even unify? Maybe. There are fighters down there where the fight can make sense. Terence Crawford versus Erislandy Lara may make sense. Versus Janibek may make sense. Make sense. Versus Carlos Adames may make sense for the accolade part, right? As far as the money is concerned, the Canelo Alvarez fight is still there on the card. You would think there may be a good chance that Canelo Alvarez may feel like he wants to get his lick back. Maybe he can make the adjustments. If Canelo Alvarez truly feels like he can beat Terence Bud Crawford, well, that rematch might be a big fight, a big sequel, a big payday for both fighters, and they both can go out and retire at the end of that fight potentially. Or does Terence Crawford choose to go ahead and retire now? If he were to retire now, has he accomplished enough to be in the Hall of Fame, to be a generational GOAT, to be the TBE even? I think the argument is more than there for that to happen. So the question I think is, and the elephant in the room for Terence Crawford is, has Terence Crawford's appetite for greatness in this sport and what he does inside of the ring, because there's also greatness for what he can do outside of the ring. We have to look at the influence he has, and we're going to talk about that as well, because his legacy goes beyond what he did inside of that ring, and also bleeds into what he's inspired outside of the ring. There's arguments to say that Terence Crawford has inspired Shakur Stevenson to challenge himself to be great, that he's inspired a Keyshawn Davis that we may see return into the space and do great things, that he's currently inspiring an Abdullah Mason, that he's inspiring a Xander Zayas, that he's inspiring all champions of Brian Normans and Devin Haney's to go ahead and accomplish all these great accolades that he did. That fight has a lot of weight behind it. Right? And my StreamYard is acting crazy. I apologize. I see that I'm freezing from time to time here. I can't do nothing about it. That is StreamYard and their wonderful technology showing its ass this morning or this afternoon. So I apologize in advance, right? That being said, we have to sit back and watch what Terence Crawford does. Whatever he does, I wish him the best. Me personally, what do I think he should do? You guys ain't going to like it. But I think he should either rematch Canelo Alvarez, if that's on the table, or he should retire right now. Walk away from the sport. Leave the sport undefeated. Leave the sport a legend. Leave the sport with a lot of blood in the mouth of your haters, all the detractors, all the people who are throwing shots and can't celebrate you now. Well, maybe they'll love you when you fade to black. Huh? Maybe they'll love you when you fade to black. I say fight Canelo again or retire, man. And we can't wait for that first round Hall of Fame entry that we know you're going to have in the space. We can't wait for the movie. I done said it on a couple other platforms already. Yo, Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler, do not waste another minute. If you happen to watch this show, get on the phone and contact whoever you need to contact to get in to whoever you need to get in contact with in order to speak on the rights of making a movie on Terence Crawford's life. His life, his journey is movie worthy. Ryan Coogler needs to reach out to Terence Crawford's family or whoever represents him, and the director of the Black Panther movies, the director of Sinners, needs to get behind making a Terence Crawford movie. Period. It's movie worthy. It's movie worthy. And that should be the next move. Let's get a movie. Let's get a book. Let's get a documentary. Let's get into that part, into the celebration of a legend. Let's put this guy, raise him to the place he deserves to be when it comes to the boxing conversation, and embrace this next generation of fighters who finally have something to look up to that will benefit the boxing space. We are officially, I remember Bill Haney saying that this was the Devin Haney era. Respectfully, Bill. Nah, it's Bud's era. Yeah, it's the Terence Bud Crawford era. It's not the Devin Haney era. Maybe later on, who knows? Shout out to Bill Haney and Devin Haney for everything they've accomplished, for the independence, for getting the money, for showing and proving that they can get money and make certain fights happening, and they can go from promoter to promoter. And you guys, in your own way, have set the trends in some ways for the modern day boxer to be an independent thinking fighter. And maybe, who knows, your movement, maybe it inspired Terence Crawford to carry himself that way. Who knows? I'm not here to argue the semantics, but I think there's no argument in the fact that this ain't the Devin Haney era. This is the Terence Bud Crawford era. And the standard has been taken away from Floyd Mayweather. And we'll talk about that right now. Because the Floyd Mayweather era, the era of the undefeated fighter, the fighter with the O that cannot go, the A-side fighter, the across-the-street politics fighter, the era that created a Gervonta Tank Davis, right? The era that made it hard to see the best fight the best. That era is done. We are in the Terence Bud Crawford era, the challenge yourself era, the dare to be great era. The fight makes the era. Not the hype, not the fanatics, not the haircuts, not the hairdos, not the nail polish, not the cool clothes they wear, but the fight, but the actual fight. right? It is what it is. It is what it is. And Terence Crawford's influence outside the ring may be a whole different conversation. This may be the next chapter of Terence Crawford's career, where we can take off the eyes of what he's done inside the ring for a half a second. We can celebrate him what we've done for that, but he can begin this new chapter to where he's also showing his presence in the life of up-and-coming fighters, the Lester Martinez's, the Shakur Stevens's, right? The Keyshawn Davises, the Abdullah Masons, the fighters who are looking at him. I saw a picture with Abdullah Mason and Terence Crawford that was absolutely inspiring. It is what it is. It is what it is, right? And what did I see in the eyes of Abdullah Mason, a fighter who's currently preparing for his first big test on November 22nd against Sam Noakes for his first actual title, a WBO title? I saw Abdullah Mason standing next to what he wouldn't mind his future being, right? Right? I saw Abdullah Mason taking a legendary picture that probably needs to be posterized and put inside his gym, because he's standing next to a legitimate legend who's earned it in the ring. It is what it is. It is what it is. So Terence Crawford's influence outside the ring, it's time for him to maybe dive into that chapter of his career. So needless to say, Terence Crawford has a lot of options, right? He can go to the middleweight division and compete for belts and unify and do things there. He can rematch Canelo Alvarez. He clearly can do something stupid like jump in the ring with David Benavidez and try to impress you idiots. Or he can go ahead and retire and move on into a whole nother chapter into his career where he's an inspiration to boxing, where he's touring, he's supporting Shakur Stevenson, he's supporting the other fighters. Maybe he signs more fighters, becomes more of a promoter. Maybe he dives into that part of his career, and we can watch that chapter of Terence Crawford. I'd be more than excited to see him do any of those things, right? So let's segue out of that. We're about an hour into the show right now. I want to talk about Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez. This fight seems to be coming together. Well, you know what? Let's talk about Tank. Let's talk about Tank. Let's do that. Let's talk about Tank and Jake Paul, right? Guys, as you in the middle, as you are in this channel right now, 48 people in the building, let's make sure we're hitting that like button. Support. Hit that like button. Let's get it where it needs to be. I don't know where the likes are at yet. I haven't checked, but let's make sure the likes are matching what's going on in the building. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, don't waste another moment. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, man. Let's dive into this Gervonta Tank Davis, Jake Paul conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems as if the word is officially Jake Paul and Tank Davis will not be happening in Georgia. The athletic commission, the head of whoever controls how that moves there in Georgia, have completely shot that fight down. They won't sanction the fight, not even for an exhibition. And I'm not shocked, right? And this is an interesting, complete opposite side of the spectrum conversation of what we watched this weekend with Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, right? Now we're going to the other side of the conversation, right? Which is what this circus show, let's be honest, of a fight between a 135-pound WBA champion and Gervonta Tank Davis against a YouTuber who's been fighting retired mixed martial artists or non-ranked fighters or deadbeat, drunken, fighters who are now in court right now for whatever they're doing. 226 pounds who just fought a 60-year-old Mike Tyson, 6'2" to a 5'4", or give or take an inch, Gervonta Tank Davis. A legitimate circus show in boxing, and quite frankly, a legitimate insult, black eye on the sport. One good thing that we've always looked at when it came to Gervonta Tank Davis, when it came to Jake Paul, is that ultimately, although Jake Paul was getting involved in these fights that many of us just didn't really respect in real time, we always look forward to the fact that more eyes would be on the sport, clearly, and we always look forward to see who Jake Paul would put on the undercard, providing opportunity for some of these fighters to get on a stage that they probably wouldn't get on without a cosign for somebody with a following like Jake Paul. So we've always been able to embrace what Jake Paul has done and take it for what it's worth when it came down to that. But ultimately, Gervonta Tank Davis a fighter who for the past 2.5 years, well, let's be honest, ever since he left Floyd Mayweather and went on his own and decided to move on his own accord, has been looked at to make things happen in boxing for the boxing fans, have been looked at to be a boss, to make the biggest fights possible, the Shakur Stevensons, the Teofimo Lopez's, the Devin Haney's, whatever fighters, fight champions, the Lomachenkos at one point, but has fallen short when it comes to that conversation. And at this point has communicated his disenchantment with the sport, his intention to actually retire from the sport, and the fact that he doesn't care to fight against these other fighters that we're talking about, and that he actually plans on retiring and is only here for the money, right? That being said, people in his fan base had a hard time for a long time embracing the idea of where Tank really stood when it came to this boxing. Some of the fans embraced where he stood. You got one in the building. I believe Bubs has communicated that, he's accepted that Gervonta Tank Davis does not fight for money. That he doesn't fight for legacy, that he only fights for money, and he wants us to embrace Gervonta Tank Davis for who he is. And I think I've done that, right? I've accepted the fact of who Gervonta Tank Davis is and what he represents. And I've also embraced the idea that this man is no longer, he's no longer here. He's no longer part of the sport that I love. He's part of something else, right? And if I've asked Tank Davis to do anything, it's probably to vacate the WBA title that he holds, to not hold the lightweight division hostage, to allow that division to go ahead and move forward and find its own way, right? Go ahead and make these exhibition fights or whatever you want to have done. Well, the big payday that Gervonta Tank Davis is looking to make doesn't seem like it's going to happen in Georgia. Now the campaign seems to be happening in Miami, right? And as I stated earlier in the video, I told you guys one thing that Gervonta Tank Davis's team has consistently done is shown that they are inconsistent. They are consistently inconsistent. Calling out for fights to happen in Houston between him and Lamont Roach. And then in the final wee hours of the evening, that fight is not happening anymore. The Houston arena is not booked. Now moving the fight out to the Barclays in New York. And then what do we see? Tank Davis show up 4 hours late. He's not interested in selling the fight. He speaks towards retirement. He's doing all those things. Makes the fight happen. Finally goes to a draw. Supposed to fight Lamont Roach Jr. The date's been moved from June to July to August, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what the months were, but ultimately until it disintegrated into midair, into nothing. And here we go with an announcement on the back end of rumors already circulating that Tank was going to arrange a fight with Jake Paul pending a victory against Lamont Roach Jr. the first time around. Although the space did not want to believe it, certain people just wanted it to be a false narrative and wanted it to be us putting words in Tank Davis's mouth. Well, who would have known? It turns out it was true, as Jake Paul announced that not only was the fight happening, but that the fight was actually penned out to happen long before even the Lamont Roach fight. That this fight was a fight that was supposed to be announced on the evening of Lamont Roach. And that fight ending the way it did was the reason why we didn't hear it get announced in an official capacity. So Jake Paul announces the fight on his media space, and Tank Davis responds to the announcement and replicates the same announcement on his own media space, and he makes the fight happen. Salute to Just Do Boxing in the building. What's good, family? Salute Sonny Augustine in the building. So the fight announced, tickets were being sold from what I understand. I believe that's what the word was, but clearly maybe that's not what it was. But people were booking hotel rooms. People are anticipating being in Atlanta. They had an arena picked out, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody, as far as they knew this fight was going to happen, whether you liked it, loved it, hated it, whatever it was, didn't matter. The fight was happening in Georgia. And it turns out yesterday, information coming out that Georgia has officially rebuked this fight like an evil spirit from a possessed victim, right? Exorcised that demon from the Georgia State Athletic Commission. And now a new flyer has come out announcing that they're expecting this fight to actually happen in Miami, Florida. At this point in the game, guys, I got to be honest with you, right? I've got to be honest with you, all right? At this point, I think there's a legitimate conversation and there's an argument to be made that fight isn't good for boxing. And I know for a lot of you in the building is going to be like, really? You're just making an argument now? We've been known that. But look, walk with me, right? Take your time. Walk with me. Be patient with me here. There were arguments to say that this fight had some good things about it because of the amount of eyes it was going to put on the sport and the fights that were going to happen on the undercard, right? There was an argument there to say that. Me personally, I never liked this fight. It's always been a circus show, but it's becoming more and more of a circus show, right? Because now you're moving venues, people are having to get their hotels moved around. They got to come to Miami now. Should they even buy hotels for it to be in Miami? Because at the end of the day, has Florida sanctioned the fight? Is the fight really going to happen in Florida? Where's the fight actually going to happen at? Is it going to even happen? Is it a clout chase, or is this something that's legitimately going to happen? Fighters are putting their careers betting on this event coming together so that they can get on the undercard. Don't get it twisted. The fight that was supposed to happen between Lamont Roach and Gervonta Tank Davis didn't just involve fans booking their hotels to see Lamont and Tank fight, or fans trying to allocate time and space to make that happen. But it also probably more importantly tied up a lot of fighters like Lamont Roach and the whole entire undercard of fighters who planned on fighting on that undercard, who now have to wait for another date to be announced as to when they can go ahead and fight and make money and take care of their families, right? These are all things that are included into this. The budget, the marketing, the amount of resources that are being allocated to get behind this fight and make this fight happen. And at this point in time, the fight doesn't only aesthetically look horrible from the outside looking in, just aesthetically, it makes no sense to see a 5'4", 135-pound, maybe 150 to 160-pound guy on the night of the fight, fighting against Jake Paul, who will be probably draining himself down to come down to somewhere closer to 175, 190, will be a shell of himself. A dangerous fight for both of these guys, and a fight that clearly one athletic commission in specific in Georgia didn't want any parts of, right? And at this point, that fight looks bad for boxing, because it's not only looking bad based off of it happening, but it's also looking bad based on the amount of irresponsibility and accountability that's happening behind the fight, with the way it's being announced and where it's happening and things of that nature. There's an argument here to say that Gervonta Tank Davis at this point, in my personal opinion, if I was a WBA, I would definitely strip him of his title. And I know some people ain't going to want to hear that. They feel like, what did he do? I feel he doesn't represent the sport where it needs to be represented at. And I believe that title shouldn't be involved. Tank needs to come back to boxing. Tank needs to get back to fighting real fighters. And he hasn't necessarily left it yet. But once he gets in this ring with this Jake Paul situation, it's going to look bad. It's a bad look for boxing. It's a bad look for Jake Paul, to be honest with you. It's a bad look all the way around. And clearly there's signs in the sky. There's writing on the wall that this fight probably should not happen. So I'm on the side of Florida not sanctioning this fight. I'm on the side of boxing not supporting this fight, right? That's what I'm on the side of. I'm on the side of applying pressure to Tank to barbecue a mildew, box for real, or walk away from boxing and go fight KSI and Jake Paul and all those guys and go make millions of dollars, whatever you want to go do. You know what I mean? Because there's a difference. There's a difference at this point. And this is a circus show that we're seeing happening with this Gervonta Tank Davis, Jake Paul conversation. It's a circus. It's a legitimate mockery of the sport. I got no interest in seeing it. And that's just me speaking frankly, right? Respectfully. Shout out to everybody who does support the fight, who feels like the fight is a great fight, or feels like, whatever it is. Shout out to you guys for having your opinion. There's my opinion. All right. My opinion is that it's a circus show, and it's at this point becoming a distraction to the actual sport and what the sport could actually be offering. And Tank could do way better. That being said, we'll segue out of that and get into the conversation of Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez, Steven Espinosa, the PBC, Turkey Alashik. Let's talk about this latest, greatest news that's coming out, or rumors circulating in the space of potential big collaborations happening for the PBC with support of Turkey Alashik in Saudi Arabia. Guys, the elephant in the room with the PBC has been what it is. I've been speaking on it for over a year now. Some people have ridiculed me, threw shots at me for having the conversation. Other people have resonated with my position. As I stated earlier, this is the golden era of boxing. We will be talking truth to power. We will be speaking truthfully how we feel here and no longer coddling or tending to people's feelings. It might not be a conversation for you. It might turn out to not be a channel for you as well. I understand how things go, right? And as Turkey Alashik said once before, we will miss you. That being said, a week or two back, we saw Shakur Stevenson and Steven Espinosa sitting on a panel on Sway's radio show, Sway's Universe, I think it's called, or something of that nature. Hip hop radio, right? On Shade 45, I want to say. Is that what it is? Shade 45 on Sirius FM or whatever it is. I don't know. That being said, there was a conversation and a mediation, and it looks like that was happening, that Sway was hosting for Shakur Stevenson to have this conversation with Steven Espinosa. And it threw me off, and I think it threw a lot of fans off who were just trying to really wrap their mind around what was that meeting all about. Like, why? What was the point behind that, right? It is what it is. It didn't make sense at the time. And two things I think stood out in that conversation. Maybe three things, right? But two main things. The number one thing being that Shakur Stevenson confirming that he definitely was a free agent, right? And communicating that he still had a legitimate, strong interest in making that Tank Davis fight. B, Steven Espinosa standing in agreement with Shakur Stevenson that A, he didn't give an offer to Shakur Stevenson, but B, that fight was a fight that he wanted to get behind and make happen. And according to Steven Espinosa, Tank may have had interest in making that fight happen as well. So Shakur being frank and asking Steven Espinosa, now that I'm a free agent completely, am I or am I not part of the plans? Let me know, because I want to fight Tank Davis. Steven Espinosa representing himself in that meeting as a representation of Tank Davis's best interest, that he was working directly with Tank Davis and would lead people to believe that he had the authority and the power to speak on Tank Davis's behalf. Pretty much communicated that Shakur Stevenson was a part of the plans and that he expects that fight to happen. Well, that gaslighted a lot of the boxing space who've been asking nothing less than to see that fight happen between Tank Davis and Shakur Stevenson. But the question is how, where, and when. That being said, fast forward to the Terence Crawford Canelo Alvarez buildup as the fight was going on and getting ready to happen that weekend. We saw more and more information coming out pointing towards the idea that Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson's negotiations were real, that they were really close to being ended, and that fight was potentially going to happen on a Turkey platform. In Riyadh season, a lot of people thought it was going to be, but definitely, you know, a fight one way or another that was going to happen on that Ring Magazine platform, or as Teofimo Lopez says, hopefully Netflix. That's where they wanted to see this fight happen. So, okay, fine. We embraced that idea and said, all right, that fight looks like it's really going to happen. We got over the Tank Davis situation, and the new narrative out there was that the biggest fight that could be made in boxing, that this fight was going to speak to who the new face of boxing was going to be. The leader of the new generation was going to come out of a fight between Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson, completely leaving Tank Davis out of the conversation. Then, fast forward to yesterday, Boxing Scene puts out an interesting article stating that the PBC was going to be hosting Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez, and that, in fact, the fight probably is going to happen in America, in New York, and that Turkey Alashik was going to be financing the whole entire fight. Wow. Now, that information threw a whole curveball at the game, but you know me, got my thinking juices going, had my mind running, trying to put some perspective into some context as to what I did, as to what I saw. And I'm going to share with you guys what I see and what I think is coming about of it, right? Let me go ahead and, shout out Warrior Class back in the building with another $5 holla. Says, are there enough champions left for Bud to fight and go on an 8-0 run? Let me be the first to say Bud can go 15-0 undisputed in 5 divisions, then retire. Yeah, 100% Warrior Class. That definitely can happen. That's definitely an option. Shout out to CJ Rich Boxing in the building. New member to the channel. Welcome to the channel. And Ray Davis been a member for 11 months now. Salute Ray Davis in the building. And also $2 for the show. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. So that being said, here's where my mind goes. I say to myself, the elephant in the room with the PBC has always been the money. Turkey Alashik hasn't been shy at admitting that he has a partnership with the PBC that a lot of people just go deaf to and don't listen to, right? We've seen Turkey Alashik facilitate fights for David Morrell, Isaac Cruz, Raul Venezuela. We've seen him, obviously, we just saw Sabrina Matias just fight Alberto Puello. We watched Carlos Adames come on over. We're watching David Benavidez right now get ready to headline a card in Riyadh season. We've seen a lot of PBC fighters work with Turkey Alashik. And I don't think that they've been working with Turkey Alashik against the will of Al Heyman. There's arguments to say that Al Heyman's been cooperative and have co-signed the idea of his fighters fighting with Turkey, allowing them to get their paydays, right? But what's more interesting now is that, in fact, if Turkey Alashik truly does intend on financing and supporting PBC on their own, allowing PBC to continue to put on these fights on their platform, but now giving the PBC an answer to the question, which is where are you going to get the money to pay an Errol Spence, a Jamel Charlo, a Tank Davis, any of these fighters, a Shakur Stevenson, a Teofimo Lopez, any of the biggest fights in the game that take money, where are you going to get the money from? Well, I think we might be looking at the birth of a beautiful relationship, or as my guy Hannibal from the 18 say, we might be watching a plan come together, right? We might be watching a beautiful plan come together, and this could be a great thing. Now, why would Turkey support this? Well, I'll be honest with you. Turkey has made comments back in the day of boxing being its greatest when there was a black heavyweight champion. And I say that not to jump all over the place, but there may be an understanding that the vision for boxing in America involves the PBC roster, the PBC fan base cannot be ignored. The PBC fan base is a loyal fan base that supported the PBC through the thick and the thin. And in order to get a complete control over the whole entire idea of what boxing is, this PBC conversation probably needs to be addressed in an absolute way, right? It needs to be addressed in a final way to where we know where the PBC actually stands with Turkey Alashik. We know where Turkey Alashik officially stands with the PBC, and we know as boxing fans what to expect of that relationship. And I think clearly the way that Turkey can help the PBC is with his money, or with Saudi Arabia's PIF money, right? That PIF money or whatever. It was a PIF money, whatever it is, right? But clearly the PBC has been resistant to the idea of them just forking over all their greatest fighters over to Ring Magazine or Riyadh season. That doesn't make sense. They want to stay in control. They want to put their events on. The PBC has good quality production and good quality events when they finally come together for their big events, right? Sebastian Vendor versus Tim Tszyu was a big event, a successful event. Gervonta Tank Davis versus Lamont Jr. was a good event inside the Barclays. These events are historically embraced by the American boxing space. So that being said, has Turkey Alashik come full circle to say, you know what? I'm not here to take over boxing. I'm here to help boxing get big. PBC is a big part of the conversation. If they want to continue with their model the way it is, I'm willing to put money behind it as long as the biggest fights are being made, and I'll sit in the background and allow Ludacubus, Al Heyman, and all the people who represent the best interests of the PBC. We'll finance that. And let's see the PBC jump back on top of American boxing, controlling the space over Oscar De La Hoya, over Bob Arum, over all the boxing promoters in the space, and allow the PBC to be what the fans want it to be. There may be an answering to the call that we may be looking at when it comes to Turkey Alashik, right? He might be answering the call and listening to the boxing fans who support the PBC. They may be moving the needle when it comes to that conversation. Maybe to a lot of you casuals, a lot of you guys who are hating on Terence, who support exclusively only Gervonta Tank Davis, maybe Turkey is listening to you guys. And maybe he's offering you guys an olive branch in order to get you guys the fight you want to see so you can be entertained. And there may be a short-term resurrection of the PBC as we know it. We may be going into 2026 with an actual ushering a new era of PBC boxing, in my opinion, which I don't think is a bad thing at all, right? I would think that they would take lessons from their last run and dial in and invest into a sustainable business model, a model that involves making the best fights. Hopefully Turkey Alashik's influence gets the PBC to invest in 50-50, 60-40 fights instead of the lopsided fights that we've seen in the past. Hopefully the across the street politics situation has been bridged now that Turkey Alashik would move this final piece being the PBC in position and ultimately bring in boxing as a total entity together, and we can destroy and erase these lines in the sand and allow the biggest and best fights to come together. That would be great, because I think the PBC wasn't so much of a horrible idea all the way around. I do think that the business model was flawed, clearly at this point, being that nobody wants to get behind it. But if they're able to adjust and make the right movements and tweak the areas that they were weak in, maybe we might see them be in a position to finally where they can sign fighters and they can put fighting events again, and maybe we might be seeing that start with this Shakur Stevenson Teofimo Lopez fight. Who knows, right? Who knows? We'll be watching from the outside looking in. I also think if this is what I think it is, or think it could be, that might be another lane that opens back up. And if the PBC's in the driver's seat with Turkey Alashik financing them, maybe the PBC can put more effort into coordinating Tank Davis versus Shakur Stevenson, get these guys the paydays they want, get Tank the payday he wants, and get us the fans the fight that we want. And the possibilities may be there. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's see what ends up happening. Let's see how that ends up coming full circle when it comes to the Shakur Stevenson Teofimo Lopez fight. Like I said, it doesn't look like it's coming back to fruition. Now you got Lamont Roach fighting Isak Cruz for an interim WBC title. You got Shakur Stevenson getting ready to fight Teofimo Lopez for a WBO title, lineal championship. Listen, the possibilities are endless. If the right people win the right fights, we can see great things happening at the 140-pound weight class division. Shakur Stevenson may very well just make a move to 140 if the fights just start manifesting back to back to back. Who knows? And we still got to factor in Keyshawn Davis. I mean, we'll save that for another show when we'll start diving deeper into the division itself once we get a better hold of an understanding of what we're looking at here as far as that relationship between the PBC and Turkey Alashik is concerned, right? We'll take a look at it. We'll see what ends up happening. Segueing from that into, let me see. We talked about Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez. We talked about Tank Davis, Jake Paul. We talked about Terence Crawford. I want to dive a little bit into the Tszyu conversation as well. Tszyu comes out and announces that he's making adjustments in his camp. Ladies and gentlemen, he's removing the powers that be. He's affiliating himself with new trainers he's making a lot of adjustments, he says, in his camp. And that the elephant in the room with Tszyu is that's what needed to be addressed. But the question is it too late? Has Tszyu already suffered enough damage, does he have too much PTSD? Is he already a damaged fighter? Can he resurrect his career? Is making those adjustments going to be enough to get Tszyu where he needs to be? Well, I can tell you this right now, 154, I've already told you guys, is poised to be a great year in 2026 for 154. With the tease return of Errol Spence and Jamel Charlo, with Jaron Ennis debuting himself at 154 next month, with Virgil Ortiz doing his thing and being a next up-and-coming fighter. With what we just saw with Caleb Walsh and Fernando Vargas, what we just saw with Brandon Adams when he just fought Serhii Bohachuk, with Serhii Bohachuk himself. The division is just brewing and bubbling into something crazy. Tszyu could definitely, at a minimum, be a great dance partner for any of those fighters that are trying to come up. I mean, I could easily see Fernando Vargas versus a Tszyu, or Caleb Walsh versus a Tszyu. Tszyu on his road to redemption. We'll watch and see what he does. Those adjustments are going to be key for him at this point. The question is it too late for Tszyu? Is it too little, too late? Has he already been damaged? Has it already been dealt with? I don't know. Let's see here. Rick Tim, salute to you, family. Salute to you in the building. Chris Legg in the building. Dragonfly Jones in the building, man. What does it say here? Anonymous says, I doubt Stevenson Lopez. To be honest, I believe in that fight when they're both walking to the ring. I know, Anonymous. I ain't even mad at you. I definitely understand where you're coming from, man. It's hard to believe what those guys are doing over there when it comes to Teofimo Lopez. It's just, he's very inconsistent. He's very consistently inconsistent, right? So that's what I see for Tszyu. What else am I missing here? What up? Rest in peace to the great Ricky Hatton. There's only one Ricky Hatton. One Ricky Hatton. We're singing a song. We got along. Walking in the Hatton Wonderland. Rest in peace to the legend Ricky Hatton. Passed away Sunday morning. Rest in peace to him, man. Legend in the sport. a UK fighter. Obviously, some people may not be familiar with him, but I remember him, man. I remember him, man, and what a support he had. Ricky Hatton would fly to the United States to fight, and England would come with him. Just one of those fighters who had the ultimate support of his country and brought that with him. Was one of Floyd Mayweather's biggest fights, turnout wise. The amount of people who came out to support that fight. Tragic, died before his time. Young guy, I think he was like 46, 47 years old, man. I don't know why he passed away, but rest in peace to the legend Ricky Hatton. Rest in peace to Ricky Hatton. Devontae Richardson. Oh yeah, no doubt. All right, let's speak on Monster Inoue versus of MJ Akhmadaliev. I want to say, I can never say that guy's last name right. Shout out to the Eastern Europeans who've been making their presence felt in boxing. So they just had a fight that Sunday morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. It was on Facebook. A conversation there also to be had on what is Top Rank doing now that they're done with their ESPN deal. What are they doing? This last fight that they had was on Facebook. That was kind of weird, awkward to catch it there. Regardless, the fight did happen. Monster Inoue outclassing MJ. And in my opinion, what we saw with MJ is I think MJ just got caught up in the lights. I literally think that MJ mentally, that experience showed and proved that Monster Inoue was great on that stage. He was great in that moment. That was his crowd, was well in his bowl of grease. And MJ just like a fish out of water to me. Kept his hands reserved too much. Monster Inoue was able to get his offense going without any real resistance, was able to move around the ring, land his shots pretty much as he sees fit, and dominated MJ. What's next for MJ? I think MJ has legitimately one fight left at 122 that makes sense to me. I mean, obviously he's got Picasso coming up in December, but after that fight, if Nakatani can get up there to 122, make it happen. And I'm not sure. I feel like Nakatani has moved up to 122. Don't quote me on that. I feel like he may have already moved to 122. That being said, that's the one fight that needs to happen for him, Nakatani. Then after that, 126, baby. We need to see Monster Inoue at 126 competing against those other champions, and see what he's able to do up there and make that division great. Right? It is what it is. Let's see. Rick Tim says, how far up can or will Inoue go? I think Inoue could go to like 130 max. I think 135 literally might be cutting it too much. 130 would be the stretch. Yeah, 130 max is what I think. You know what I mean? 130 max. Let me see what we're talking about. Nakatani is what I want to see versus Inoue. Yeah, no doubt. Nakatani is the fight that needs to happen. You would think that that's the fight that Turkey's looking to put together in 2026. Probably mid 2026. Let Monster Inoue rest up a little bit. Nakatani get a tune-up fight or whatever have you, or a stay busy fight at 122, and then let's make that fight happen. That air conditioner is blowing so cold it done turn my coffee into a damn iced coffee. I got a damn iced coffee now. It is what it is. Hold on 1 second. Bear with me, guys. Back at it like we never left. Hope you guys ain't missed me too long. We back at it. But yeah, I am going to put the link out there. Let's let a couple people come up. Today's show is not going to be long and drawn out. I promise you that. Matter of fact, I'm probably going to let guys up like one at a time, no more than two at a time. We'll get through it and move on. I got stuff to do today. I ain't going to lie to you guys. Just wanted to come up here and build with the community, you know? Wanted to get up here and build with the community. Bear with me here. Copy. Paste. I get some rest. I got some stuff to do tonight. There's the link if guys want to come up on the show, share some perspective on the topics that we had Today was the golden era Claymore Rain boxing show, talking ATP Combat Media show. It's going to be a lot of conversations happening like that. You know what I mean? It is what it is. We're going to start speaking frank to it. What did he say? Rick Tim said, last time I had coffee was years ago in county jail. Dudes drink it all day. I haven't tried iced coffee, though. Nah, man, look, man, my wife is a big iced coffee, like, she's on that. That's what she's on right now. I don't know how long she's going to be on it, but that's what she's doing right now is iced coffee. And it's not bad. This wasn't iced coffee. This was hot coffee, but this is pretty much iced coffee at this point. I'm like legitimately under an air conditioning unit. So when the air starts blowing, it just blew my coffee cold. It's fire, though. Fire, man. Fire. I got creamer in my coffee today. That's not normally what I do. I'm usually a straight black dude. But I got creamer in the coffee. But I think that's what's making this not so horrible. It's making it decent. Yeah, Pork Chop Cash says, I love iced coffee. Yeah, man. It's a new wave, right? Iced coffee, man. Get you that caffeine fix, but it don't got to be hot on a hot day, man. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a link. I'm telling you, if you want to come up and build, let's get it done. Let's get it did. We're an hour and a half into the show. I don't mind cutting the show early a little bit today. There's other things I could talk about, but I don't want to drag it out too much. It is what it is, man. We talked about Terence Crawford today. We talked about Tszyu. We talked about Shakur versus Tszyu. We talked about the PBC. We talked about Tank and that circus show that he got going on. It's hilarious, man. I was watching. Look at Bub Boxing in the building. Bub's I seen Bubs getting at it with a content creator. Bub's out there pulling Tank Davis fan cards. That's crazy, Bubs. That's crazy that you guys are like, it's crazy to see the fan club go crazy over Tank. I mean, it's honestly a wild thing to watch in real time, to watch Tank fans arguing amongst each other, and to watch you know, it's an interesting to watch because, you know, it's one thing to be, I'm a Jets fan, right? I'm a New York Jets fan, so in a way I resonate a little bit with the Tank fans, just a little bit, right? And what do I mean by that? I mean, when you're on a losing team, that's really when the fans get to show up and show the world who they are, right? Like when you're on a losing team and you got to support your team, you know what I mean? I understand that. There's honor in that, right? Like, support your team even if they're losing. Don't just support them when they're winning. And Tank, in my opinion, just for whatever argument purposes, I believe is losing, right? I believe his team is losing. I believe Tank is really putting his supporters in a very weird position because they're having to get behind something that I believe truly in their heart they don't support. I believe that most Tank fans don't support what Tank is doing. But I believe as fans, they've been placed in a compromised position to where they don't want to turn on Tank. They find themselves having to support Tank, but ultimately they also find themselves, especially right now, on the back end of a Terence Crawford fight against Canelo Alvarez that just happened this weekend, and to see how successful he is and how embraced he was, how embraced the moment was, that boxing all around the world, not only supported it in the viewership, not only supported it in the amount of people that were in the building, but also boxing itself, the fighters, the Bruce Carringtons of the world, the Abdullah Masons, the pundits in the space, the Andre Wards, the Roy Jones, the underpundits, the Teddy Atlases, the Tim Bradleys, the people who have gotten behind what Terence Crawford represents now and how official his status as far as the standard is in boxing is. There's an argument there to say that Gervonta Tank Davis and his team are legitimately on the opposite side of this conversation now. And it's got to be weird. It's got to be weird to see you guys in that way. Salute, Coach Eddie. How you doing, family?
Hey, salute, Clay. How's it going, brother?
Man, we doing good, man. You know, boxing is in a great space, man. Doing good, man. No complaints.
Yeah, man. I've been waiting for you to do your show, man. I've been looking out for you, man. At the end of the day, first of all, I want to say shout out to Terence Crawford. You know, he did his thing, of course. So it was a very tactical, you know, very how can I put it? He broke him down systematically.
Mhm.
It wasn't a Hagler Hearns type of event, but it was
Right.
systematic. It was systematic. A lot of frustration. I think that was part of it. Just had a great game plan, man. It's kind of like he deactivated a bomb, so to speak. It's like Crawford knew he was handling something dangerous and knew
Mhm.
how to handle it. You
Mhm.
know, so he was aware of the danger at the same time, but still was able to navigate the the 12 rounds and get a pretty good decision, in my opinion. It was a good fight. I think Terence definitely put his skills on display, did a great job. I like Terence because if you ever notice, he's not saying he's the best 168 pounder. Terence is very honest. People got to remember that. Terence never said he's the best 168-pound fighter. He just
Right.
said I can beat that guy. And
100%.
that's what people are. That's why people are so up in arms. That's why they throwing all these challenges into him. Terence, in my opinion, has no intention on staying at 168. He told you, I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. And it is. People out there said that. And
Mhm.
the thing about what Terence did, he helped boxing. Him winning those belts was the best thing that happened to the 168-pound division because
100%.
it freed him up. No longer not everybody can get back to fighting each other and stop waiting on the Canelo Alvarez sweepstakes. You got a guy who's going to probably relinquish the belts at some point in time, unless he does a fight with a rematch with Canelo Alvarez. Other than that, he's probably going to let those belts go because he know that's what's best for the sport. And probably ride off into the sunset. And now you got all these people who are basically trying to set up all these obstacles for him to conquer to say that he is the best. At first, I want you to fight David Benavidez. Okay, when you get done fighting him, go up and fight fight Ja Abataya. You get finished with him, I need you to fight two slick black fighters, fight Boots, then fight up Andrade. As you get down there, then go up and fight Usyk and then Tyson Fury, and then you'll be the best. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like the man done did what he needed to do. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? That's it. People just gotta accept it. It is what it is. Canelo, he didn't do his thing. He got outboxed. He got outboxed. He got outmaneuvered. You know what I'm saying? He's embarrassed. Canelo looked very embarrassed on that stage. It happened on the large stage. He had to eat his own words because he kept saying, "See, this is the problem. If Canelo knew what he was up against, he would not have took that fight. He did it in contemporary, typical Canelo Alvarez fashion. I got a smaller, older guy. I'm going to do him like I did Shane Mosley. That what was in Canelo's mind. And when he got in there, he realized this ain't Shane Mosley.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. I agree with you. I think that there's an argument there that said it was a cherry pick that went wrong. And obviously I would never in my life call Terence Crawford a cherry pick, but I think Canelo had reason to believe that the size factor that he really slept on what Terence Crawford's what he stylistically presented as far as adversity was concerned in that ring. And I think a lot of fans did as well. I think a lot of fans underestimated, and that's what I loved about the fight. And what I wanted the fight to do was I wanted the fight to highlight the sweet science and make everybody understand that where there's a will, there's a way. Styles make fights, skills do pay the bills, and people there's a difference between having the knowledge and the wisdom. I always look at the knowledge as the information in your head, and the wisdom is how to swing the sword. Right? You might know the sword, you might know how to do things with the sword, but can you actually execute? And that's what he showed he was able to do. He was able to mix it up with Canelo when he wanted to. He boxed him when he wanted to. He moved around, controlled the energy of the fight from the beginning to the end. It was entertainment to watch. If you are a fan of boxing, you got to watch some great boxing. Coach Eddie, I'm going to pull you down for a second. I'm going to build with HLD for a second. I'm going to try to bring everybody up ones and two at a time. I don't want a whole panel. I got stuff to do today. And I want to kind of move through this a little quicker than I normally do. So I appreciate you coming up here.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I fall back in the chat, brother, but I got to go handle some business anyway. But thanks,
yes,
brother. I'll be in the chat listening.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate you again. Thanks, Coach. HLD, what's good, family?
What's going on, Clay? What's going on? Oh, man, you kicked out Coach Eddie, man.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah. What's good, man?
I
came in you talking about the whole tank thing and all that.
yeah.
You really wanted to talk. You said that Tank is not losing. The only ones that are losing are his fans and their pride and all that stuff. Tank is winning because he's gonna make that dollars.
That's what I meant. I kind of, I don't know if you heard me change it. You know what I'm saying? And I said it wasn't Tank. It's really the fans. You know what I'm saying?
His fans and that's the pugilist in a way because, you know, he's been a globetrotter even still as what he was in the game. Even him wanting for years to fight the best and always cherry picking his way around that. But I think it's his fans. But, you know, this whole scenario about, you know, they say now that Georgia doesn't want to approve this fight. That does leave a little bad taste in it because I was telling you that they got to try to finagle their way to make it happen, and it's not just and it is what it's. Well, we all know it is not. It's not a real legit fight. It's not a legit fight.
It's a circus.
It's a circus in itself. It's a circus in itself. And I also caught you coming in. Let me ask you this though, HR, right? Like at some point,
does this become? At some point, in your opinion, does this become bad for boxing? You know what I mean? In other words, in the beginning, it was like all good, like the eyes on it, you know, eyes on boxing, that argument. You know, Jake Paul brings the eyes, you know, the undercard, you know, all the things that Jake Paul does when he does the circus show. He always brings this other part of the conversation that, you know, is valuable to the sport, right? Platforming for fighters who wouldn't get the platform, like the Amanda Serranos, the Katie Taylors. We've seen other fighters get an opportunity to shine on his undercard. But at some point or another, is this situation look like it's culminating into a big distraction for boxing, a big mockery of boxing, just aesthetically from the outside looking in? Are we to that point yet as a fan base to be like, you know what? We let a lot slide, but this one might be a little too much. What do you think?
Eventually, it's gonna get old. It's just gonna get old. It's a fad. It's an anomaly. Tank is himself is an anomaly, even in the sport, being as famous as he is for fighting who. So it's all an anomaly. It's like the McRib. You can only have it on the menu for so long before they pull it out, because it's gonna leave everybody a bad taste in their mouth. So eventually, I think it's gonna this whole fad with the whole, you know, the YouTuber thing and all that. It's gonna fade because it's going to fall back to when we all really want to see what we saw last Saturday, what we saw, you know, when we like to be seen, the best of the best. And that's that.
I didn't get a chance to ask you yet, though. So what did you think about the performance with Terence and Canelo? Well, first of all, going into it, I feel like you were on Canelo's side. I think.
Yeah, no, I had, there's only one way I had this fight going. Canelo knocking out Terence Crawford.
Right. So that being said, what did you think of the fight? I mean, did it, I'm interested in the boxing fans like you. I consider yourself like a real hardcore boxing fan. And I want to know, did you walk away with any hope for boxing?
There's hope. There's hope in itself because it's two of the best. We're not, you know, it's not Mickey Mouse. It's two of the best. Regardless of how you want to put it, it's two of the best of this era. Plain and simple. So there's no way around that in itself. So yeah, I mean, now was a fight. I mean, was it all entertaining? No, it was not for me. It was dead for the first 5-6 rounds, and then in the second half, the more dominating performance, if you will, came from Bud. But the way everybody wants to say it, it's not the way I see it. I saw it a draw, plain draw. That's the way I saw the fight. I didn't see Crawford do nothing for 5 rounds.
I think he did a lot, man. I think that's what I'm saying. I think there's an understatement on that science, man. That when you seen Bud moving and, you know, selecting his shots and working on that jab and moving and keeping his back off those ropes.
That first 6 rounds was a bicycle.
He wasn't on a bicycle, bro. He was just
a bicycle. I'm making my video on it. 24 minutes of bicycle.
Nah,
Bud Crawford.
People just want to see the worst out of Bud.
No, man. But then Canelo still. This is why I don't want to shit on Crawford because the one thing I always said is that Canelo is going to stop Crawford because there was only 2 things I had in mind for this fight. Can Crawford take the punch, and can Crawford, you know, put some respect, you know, punching on Canelo? He withstood the power for 12 rounds. Shame on Canelo for allowing that man make it to 12 rounds. So credit to Bud for making it for the 12 rounds. Credit for him to withstanding the power. I take nothing away from that in itself. So, I mean, in that respect, I mean, had I put a bet, I would have lost.
Right? Like, he put the weight on nice. Like, he did a good job.
No, he did. He did. And to me, man, it was very, very reminiscent of the Madrimov fight. There was nothing going on for the first 5-6 rounds, and then in the second half, Crawford did his thing, right? And so he showed that I'm winning these rounds assertively, more dominantly than the other guy. So that's where I saw the stamp that he did. So it's very reminiscent of that Madrimov fight. And Canelo did by I think the end of the 7th. He was wheezing. He was wheezing.
And he was frustrated.
Oh, he got frustrated in the 10th or somewhere up in there.
Where he just shook his head and just looked at Bud Crawford like, you a real pain in my ass.
But
pain in my ass.
But credit to Bud. I mean, I'm not gonna take that. Like I said, had I made a bet, I would have lost, regardless of how it is. My bet would have been for the knockout, so I would have lost, and I would have to damn.
All right.
So that's where we're at with that.
It is what it is. HL, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next guy because I gotta fly through this, man. And I got
copy that, man. Appreciate it.
Man, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming up here and building with me, man. The next show will be better. Back to our old ways, the usual suspects screaming at each other on the platform. All right. One. Salute, Ray. What's good with you, family?
That's that super chat real quick.
All right. And hold on 1 second. I also want to. Oh man, let me go ahead and address this dude real quick. Let me see if this dude what this dude got to say, man. This is the first time I've seen him up here. Bub Boxing in the building. What's good, Bub? What's good, family?
What's happening, pimp?
Chill. I mean, I know you gotta have something special to say. You gotta have some specials. I never see you come up on the panel. So what's on your mind?
Well, no, I did this because the chat requested me to, and you know what I'm saying. I was about to get ready for work. You know, I work until I just got off at 8 this morning, bro. Look at you. Think I'll be joking, man? Look, this is what time it is in Alaska, bro. I just got off at 8 this morning, bro. I've been in the chat messing with you. I got to get prepped up for work. I got to be back at 12 tonight, bro. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt, man. No doubt.
So man. I'm trying to make it quick, but I just wanted to get my. Hey, can I get a little credit, bro? Can I get a little credit
for what?
So who's been in the chat for the last year talking about Crawford, David Benavidez?
I guess you have, but I mean,
yeah. And then now all of a sudden, isn't it weird? Where did Turkey all of a sudden? Where did he just tweet? What did he tweet? Why did he tweet that?
What did he tweet?
Why would he tweet that? Why do you think he tweeted that? Wonder if Benavidez can make 168. Why would he tweet that? Why would he? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Why would he tweet that? Would he tweet that because he maybe wants to fight with Crawford?
I mean, it's possible. It's possible.
Oh, so can I get a little credit? I only been asking that for a year. Can I get a little bit of credit? Everybody been laughing at me. Everybody been laughing at me in the chat. Everybody been, and then all of a sudden on Clapback Thursday, did you see what Oscar said today?
No,
he said the same thing. He was saying, I was saying in the chat for a year, why don't Benavidez get the winner? Cool. Y'all saying Crawford, and then see, here's my beef with y'all, bro. I'm listening to your words. The words that's coming out of y'all mouth. Y'all said Crawford's the best of this era, right?
He is, hands down.
Right?
Hands down.
Is Benavidez in this era? I mean, is he in another era that I don't know about? Is he in an upcoming era?
I think if you're talking about eras of like the Canelos, the Buds, the Earl Spence, the Thurmans.
I'm talking about right now. Y'all say the best in this era right now, right?
Listen. I'm trying to explain to you. So if you're talking about the era, because remember, these guys are in the later years of their career, so they're on their way out. The Benavidez era is part of that Inouye era, like probably Tank and some of them guys. But the other guys, they're on their way out.
How did Inouye?
But hey, listen, he's still here, right? He's still a young pup in this era. But actually, he's not even young. He's made it. I think he's on the tails end of this era. And if we're looking at pound for pound, great or the best fighter in pound for pound is Bud Crawford. What has Benavidez done? Let me finish. What has Benavidez done to the level of what Bud Crawford has done over the years? It doesn't matter if it's 2 fights, 3 fights, 8 fights, whatever the case, or whatever you want to say. Bud was avoided just like Benavidez, right? Am I right?
Which makes it a great fight.
Okay, but you're also looking at a guy.
Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Am I right?
All right, Bud, let me ask you a question.
But I'm catching them in between the shots.
What you like? You like what? 6 foot, probably 200.
No, bro, I'm a little dude, bro. See, look, my butt. See,
no, give me the information.
But yeah, my stature, and the way I carry myself. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, I do. You know what I'm saying. But you know what? To tell you the truth, but I'm the same. Hey, look, to surprise you, I'm the same size as Tank.
Oh, okay. Well, listen.
Oh, you like 5'4"? 150, 160 pounds.
Yeah, and I'm just real stocky. I'm built just like bro. I'm built.
Okay,
that's what it is. Yeah, Tank twin.
And see, look, and okay. So now that you understand that, now that you understand that, I've been in a lot of fights myself, bro. So that's what I be trying to tell y'all. I know what it takes to get into a longer reach. So I know what y'all talking about.
Okay,
I know what you're talking about. And see, that's why every fight that I try to give y'all always deflect on it. But see, what I do is I check the reach and I check the height. So now, if you look at every fight that I've been giving y'all, there's always a calculation of the height and reach advantage. And I always calculate it the same way that you guys calculate Tank and Haney or Tank and Tszyu. You always get, y'all don't seem to care that he has to give up that height and that reach advantage. Tank can do it. He's a little guy that can do everything. But then all of a sudden, when we get to Haney and Bud, it's like, oh no, they're too big. Benavidez, come on, man. And Benavidez and Bud have the exact same arm reach. You have no excuse.
Okay,
you have no excuse. Bud isn't giving up any reach advantage.
Yeah, look, right? It don't matter either way, whether they fight or they don't fight, right? If they do fight, you think that's a great fight, it is what it is. I don't think Terence needs to fight David. I don't think he should fight David, to be honest with you. But if he chooses to do so, you know what I mean, that could be a fight. You know what I mean? I don't got no issues. I think if it were to happen, that's exactly what it would be a great fight. Because I don't think Terence would fight a fight that he doesn't think he can compete at a high level on. You know what I mean? I think it's all good. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. As far as Tank Davis is concerned, listen, man, what he's doing now, there's no argument.
Why are we switching to Tank, man? Hold on, bro. Why are we going to Tank?
Because I got to get past. I got to move. I've got to move past this conversation. And
you want to get past David Benavidez.
Yeah,
okay.
I want to just move it along to say, because you brought up the reach and everything that way. So I'm talking about Tank because you talked about that's why you say what you say, because when we're talking about Tank fighting Tszyu or Devin, so I'm just segueing into that and also trying to land the plane because I got to get on. I got okay. So at the end of the day, these fighters are going to do what these fighters want to do. And my position is to support the fighter or to speak to what the fighter wants to do versus what I want the fighter to do, right? In other words, Tank doesn't want to fight Shakur. He doesn't want to fight Devin. He doesn't want to fight Tszyu. He wants to fight Jake Paul. I'm okay with that, but I'm also going to give my opinion on it and say, well, I'm not interested in you fighting Jake Paul, so I'm not going to support that fight because I don't care for that fight. But I'm okay with you going to get your money and doing what you want to do. I'm not going to keep begging you to fight a fight that you don't want to fight. I encourage the space to embrace and accept the fact that Tank is doing what Tank wants to do, and you have to make up your mind and judge Tank off of what he's doing, not off of what you think he should do or what you think he will do. What he's doing right now, if what he's doing right now, you're okay with it, then you're in a good place with Tank. On the other side of the conversation, if what he's doing right now you don't like, then don't support what he's doing. And that's where I land my plane when it comes to that. David Benavidez and Terence Crawford and Turkey Alashik pushing to make big, competitive, dangerous fights. I expect Turkey to do that.
Okay, hey, Clay, one more thing before we go. I want to talk something like before, not later, like for a later date, right? But I do want to have that belt conversation with you, homie.
We'll do that another one. We'll do that.
Yeah, let's do that on another one. I want to have that. But hey, man. Hey, thanks, man. See y'all later. I need to get ready for work, bro.
Later, man. Alaska, huh? What you doing over there? It be dark most of the time, don't it?
Yeah, it's gonna get dark. It's gonna get dark here in a little bit, bro. Actually, around 4. I would show you my, my native baby mama sitting right here, but I can't see. Look, she already hiding. I can't show you. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, bro, you know what I'm saying?
Leave that woman alone, bro. She don't be bothered with your ass right now, bro. Over here trying to put on the spot. We got your back, Mrs. Bubs. We ain't gonna let him do you like that.
Mrs. Bubs.
They got your back.
Mrs. Bubs, damn bully
Thanks,
on
bro.
the damn internet. He ain't gonna be no bully with you. I already know.
All right, man.
Nice talk, man. All right.
Deal with you later, man.
What up, Clay?
Too Rich, Mr. I Respect the Bells. Hold on, let me answer this super chat right here. Shout out to CJ Rich Boxing and BS. Salute for the support again with the $5 in the building. Says HLD putting too much sauce on it. Moving isn't running, just hesitant to give full capital letters FULL credit in the building. Salute to you, CJ Rich Boxing. Yeah, man, I think HLD was being a little hard on Terence, saying he was on his bicycle. What, that was diabolical, bro. That was unnecessary. HLD keeping it a little too raw on the show today, man. What's good, Too Rich?
Hey, what's going on? You can hear me?
Yes, sir. Hear you loud and clear. How you doing today?
What's it, man? I'm doing great, man. How y'all doing?
I'm good.
Man, we're doing good, man. Coming off a great weekend in boxing, man. Did Bud deliver? Did boxing win? How you feeling?
Hey, man, that was spectacular, man. I mean, I'm at loss for words. I said from the get-go on your show that Crawford was the favorite the whole time for me, man. It's just about skill set, man. A lot of the casual fans believe in power, and that's where the misconception came in. But that's the weight and the power was the only category that Canelo had. Everything else went to Bud. So all Bud had to do was brace for the power, keep the power in front of him and see it coming. I said it's not going to hurt him because I saw that with Madrimov. Long as he kept and saw the shots coming, they didn't hurt him. Now on my channel, if you get a chance to check out the breakdown I did before the fight, I identified two basically spaces in the fight, which was Crawford manipulating Canelo's high guard. So I brought up examples of when Crawford fought Jose Benavidez, when Jose Benavidez used the high guard and how Crawford went by the head combinations. And with Madrimov, I showed examples of him by the head combinations. So I knew Bud was going to be up on the scorecard just from combination punching alone. So the next thing was the timing, Bud's timing, man. If you go back and look at when he knocked out Kell Brook, man, it was a short shot, man, just a well-timed shot. And when you go back and look at that Canelo fight, the time shots he hit Canelo with were just amazing, man. That's ring IQ. You see what I mean? And that was just a tour de force, man. It was a clinic of boxing, man. For the people who say, they try to say he was running, the same thing Crawford did right is what Canelo didn't do right, which move his damn feet. Canelo can't move his feet. You got to be able to move your feet. You got to be able to pivot. And Crawford did what trainers would tell you, pick your spots to fight. So it was spots in that fight where he went toe-to-toe, slug it out, and there was spots. You could tell Crawford was being tentative. He could have took Canelo out because I picked him by stoppage, and I wasn't joking. And he could have pressed the gas. But the trainer, the great trainer in Bomac, told him, don't give him a chance. Don't get in a firefight. Don't give him a chance to land a lucky shot. And that's what Crawford did. So, I mean, it was just a clinic, man. I'm happy for him, proud of him. And I, it ain't nothing bad you can say about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And also, man, thanks for highlighting Bomac, man. And like I said, and I've been preaching this for the past month or two, saying that, boxing is a team sport. What's going on inside that ring, sometimes it looks like it's just a one-on-one, and it is, an argument today to say that it is one-on-one. It's two fighters facing each other, but I think sometimes the teams don't get they get understated, underspoken about, right? They don't get really highlighted. And I think what we saw in that fight also, not to mention Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez fighting each other, but you also got to see Bomac really use his experience to guide Terence Crawford to the ultimate victory. And we also saw Eddie Reynoso and what he could potentially do with Canelo Alvarez. And we saw that Terence Crawford's team played a huge role in what happened in that fight, what we saw in that fight. And I think if they were to rematch, honestly, my personal opinion, I would pick Terence Crawford to stop Canelo. I think he would pick it up, and I think he's a way more confident fighter now. I think we have to remember that, from Terence Crawford's point of view, and clearly from his team's point of view, we had to wait and see, right? We don't know what we don't know, and how powerful is this guy? Let's not give him a chance. He punches. He's never been knocked out. We don't got to go for the knockout. Let's take this victory. And if there's going to be a rematch, I expect Terence Crawford. I would pick Terence Crawford for the knockout in the next fight. I think he's processed enough data and would start earlier in this fight than he did the last fight.
Yeah, exactly. Because now he knows he can take the power. He would still have to give it a couple rounds. It'll be stupid. But now I do think he goes for the knockout if it's a rematch.
No doubt, man. I appreciate you too, Rich. I'm gonna let you go,
hey,
man.
Hey, let me say this one last thing. I'm gonna land it right here. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. That was a big fight, right? That was a big fight. 41 million view, 46 million at the gate, whatever the case may be. What other fight? I hear them talking about going down to 160 for what? Who is there to make a big fight? There's only one fight. That's David Benavidez. He got to go take him out. David Benavidez daddy talking shit. Terence Crawford I heard him say some stuff on the interview today, and he said, yeah, David get big. He might come in 200 pounds. He said, but I trust in my skill set. I know what that means. Get ready. It's Terence Crawford versus David Benavidez.
Wow. Hey, man, listen, if Terence, one thing about it, if Terence Crawford takes that fight, I know he's taking it because he's ready, man. I don't personally think he can take it. I don't think he needs to prove anything, but listen, man, if that's what he feels like he's ready to move in, let me tell you one thing about Terence Crawford, and I stand on it. He's earned the benefit of the doubt for me, bro. I just don't bet against Terence Crawford. So if it's gonna be David Benavidez, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. I appreciate you, Rich.
Oh, all right.
All right, brother. Peace.
Yo, I'm glad you brought up a couple of things. I wanted to touch base, and what was really interesting is how you built up. What's up, Adar? Assalamu alaikum, my brother.
Walaikum assalam, y'all. Go ahead. Ray, go ahead and deal.
So you had brought up a very interesting point about the comparisons to Floyd, Bivol, and Bud, who got the best Canelo. I love that conversation. It never gets old. It's never going to get old. But I had some interesting points. I think when Floyd got Canelo, I'm gonna break it down, and you guys can take your opinions on it and share what you want. But I think when Floyd got Canelo, he had a more athletic, hungry, and intense Canelo, right? High, you know what I mean? More of a skilled, I would say, challenger, to say the least. He wanted to accomplish things, right? He had no accomplishments yet, but he wanted to set start his legacy. So he had a lot of pride in wanting to grow. I think when Bivol got him, he had more of a lazy Canelo, a Canelo that spoke on this in his own interview and said, "What? I only moved up in weight because those guys were slower. I could take advantage of them. I was able to use my power from being that I was powerful at a smaller weight, use my speed, and have the power to move up and be able to take the shots from these bigger guys and fight them on an uneven playing field." So I think he got a little lazy there. And when I think he got to Bud, I think we had an experienced, cerebral, more intelligent Canelo, but at the same time, a Canelo that got comfortable. So I mean, there's some plus and minuses on every end of these points, right? But I think what Bud got, in my opinion, was the more developed cerebral, like I said, Canelo Alvarez, because he knows how to fight. We've seen him fight. He fought Floyd. He fought other fighters, Miguel Cotto, et cetera, Shane Mosley. You mentioned him. We can go all the way up to the 160 division. We can go up to when he beat Kovalev, which people don't give him credit for because he was older over the hill, right? Same age as Canelo now, but he was over the hill. But what Bud got was seasoned, prepped, ready, experienced, intelligent, and ring IQ guy. Unfortunately, the man admitted himself his body just wasn't, you know what I mean? Almost 70 fights. Yeah, your body gonna tell you something. It just don't move the way it used to. And I think that's what happened. And I think that's why we got the results that we have. I think if Canelo had some flexibilities and things like that, we had a better fight, right? That's number one. Number two, I'm glad somebody touched, I think it was either Coach Eddie or Too Rich. Canelo, Bud didn't run, man. Canelo was confused. He was frustrated. And he doesn't know how to cut off the ring, right? He made no adjustments in that fight. None. Clay spoke on this. He's gotten comfortable. What adjustments have you made with Bivol? He got lazy, right? So we keyed in on that. And last but not least, man, I just wish people give this man his flowers. Stop trying to push him to fight everybody else. Stop wanting to see the next person beat Bud. Because it's crazy that, like, we see the defenses of other fighters. Oh, they can fight whoever. They can chase the bag. They can do this. They can do that. And it's not just Gervonta Davis. So I don't want to just think it's just that guy. It's okay. They got every reason to do what they want to do when you're a fan of them. But when it comes to somebody you don't like or support, It's always they have to do what you want them to do, but you don't say the same thing for your fighter. And I think that's something to be held accountable for with yourself and your inner self, to say, okay, I got to treat this guy like my guy. You know what I mean? If I support this guy and I want this guy to do this, and I want this guy to do this, and that includes my fighter. So at the same time, I think we need to bring I think Bud and Canelo have brought boxing back to the forefront. It has changed the game, the marketing, everything. Shout out to Turkey Alashik. Shout out to this new PBC thing that may be slipping through the cracks that nobody's paying attention to, because they don't want to give credit to Turkey for now bringing the PBC back. Working with all the promoters, working with all the promotional companies. Shout out to that, man. And I think Bud Canelo deserves a round of applause from the world for a great epic event. I think they could have mixed that card up a little bit, but obviously me and Clay talked about it. I think when you got a trainer that can't go back to the rings, and you know what I mean, situations, you had to move it the way you had to move it. But yeah, man, I just want to say thanks, Clay, for all the opportunities to talk about this and give my opinions, man. Shout out,
facts,
brother.
Facts.
And
yeah, that was
you, brother.
That was facts, man. That was facts what you said. And peace and blessing us on to everybody again. I'm here to celebrate Bud, man. I'm smoking on the pack of Bud today, and I'm just elated on what he contributed to the showmanship of boxing. I mean, I grew up with that Desperado movie, you know what I'm saying? So I knew soon as he came out with the guitar and that long sleeve coat, you know what I'm saying? I knew who he was portraying, and it was fashionable, you know what I'm saying? It was classy, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm 40 plus. I don't want to hear a bunch of N-bombs from our fighters all on the mic. It's very embarrassing with that low class behavior. These guys, almost 40 years old, both of them, you know what I'm saying? They all classy and mature. So I think we're trying to step up the image of boxing to say it's a thug sport played by gentlemen. And I think that's what we really need to be trying to focus on. That, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, this sport is thuggish, but you don't have to be a thug to be successful. You don't have to come from the streets. You don't have to act street. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be some hooligan to be popular. And I believe his class broke that mold, how he portrayed himself and held himself down. He probably more street than all the youngsters, but he came near concise on what he wanted to say, not a lot of words, stared everybody in the eye like a man, and put down a show that no one has topped yet. And that's what it's all about, you know what I'm saying? To tear apart the top of whatever you thought was in this era. He tore apart Errol Spence. I thought Errol Spence was better than Terence. He tore that apart. He tore apart whoever thought Canelo was better than Terence. He tore that apart. You know what I'm saying? In a classy way. And so, as far as breaking down the fight, I really felt like that step away, that step away hook really landed real good for him. I mean, they showing that steal where Canelo leans in and he got a jab over his shoulder, and then Crawford comes in with a right hook and takes almost his whole chin off. I mean, that was just a beautiful masterpiece on his reflex are still sharp at 38. So he can go with anybody. I say anybody in the 30s, he can still go round for it. You start talking about people in the young 20s is coming up. You know what I mean? It may be a lot of chess moves and defense, you know what I'm saying, as far as moves from him, not that much offense. And that's normal, because when a guy got you beat on reflex, and you have to make sure that you play the ring right. And so the David Benavidez conversation, I do think he should take it. You know what I mean? Because I don't think I think what we keep on misunderstanding about Crawford is he's smarter than everybody. He doesn't need to come in there and beat somebody up to win. He just proved that. He's smarter than your favorite fighter. He's smarter than your most dangerous fighter. So he's not going to come in there toe to toe like a rock'em sock'em robot. He shows you that. I'm going to use all this real estate, and like a piranha, I'm going to bite you in every round, and I'm not going to miss my mark. And so that's what he did to Canelo. He took away all the fight in Canelo without knocking him out. there was no Moss facial expressions from round 8 all the way to round 12. It was no Moss on his forehead. They had to talk about everything to get him off that stool. It was embarrassing for Canelo, I'm sure, to be treated like that when other people wanted him to fight somebody else, and it was a cherry pick going wrong. I do believe that it was a cherry pick going wrong. You don't want to fight Benavidez, so I'm a fight Crawford. But it'll be very interesting. Who will fight Benavidez? Will it be Crawford or Canelo? That's what I'm gonna lay my plan. Peace.
No, man, no doubt. I don't appreciate you, man. Yeah, that was some good perspective, and and just to double back on what you said as far as if they do fight, I'm going to be excited for the fight because I know Terence has properly measured David Benavidez. He's seen something he could take advantage of. He believes he can compete on that playing field in a way to where he's going to win that fight, and I'm going to be interested in seeing him break David Benavidez down, like, because I'm be honest with you, it's a super dangerous fight. I don't think he needs to fight that fight. I think his legacy is cemented. I don't see the reason why you should jump in the ring with the David Benavidez, who's another weight class of fighter, another amount of just, I don't know at 38 years old if that's necessary. But if he chooses to pull the trigger on that, I'll be excited to see what happens. Shoot, Pop Shop, what's good with you, fam?
What's good? What's good? Boxing is on fire.
Yes,
Super
sir. Yes,
bud.
sir.
Yeah,
Definitely.
HLD is a wild, a draw.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, he's not the only one I've heard say that. I've heard some other fans in the space say that, and I don't want to just dismiss it and turn it into like they just whether they just hating or they just fanatics with Canelo. I think boxing fans have what they like to see. You know what I mean? It's just like the judges. Sometimes we don't understand what the judges are seeing when they score in their fights. Some judges like to see more of the sweet signs. Some judges like to see more rock'em sock'em. Some judges respect aggression more. Some judges don't like to see fighters on their back foot as much. Some judges just have different ways of looking at the fights, and there's no cookie cutter way to score a fight. You either think you either think a fighter is winning or losing. It's that simple at the end of the day. So clearly HLD saw what was happening in the first half of that fight as a lack of action and maybe a lack of engagement, and he felt like maybe Canelo wasn't necessarily winning those rounds per se, but it didn't feel like Terence Crawford was necessarily winning either way, and probably gave a lot of those swing rounds to the champion. Felt like if you're not taking it from him, then I'm going to give it to him. I don't know, right? There's so many different ways to look at it, but without a doubt, I 100% disagree with him. You know what I'm saying, on his assessment of that fight. Sure. But what did you think about it, Pop Shop?
I gave Canelo round 5 and round 10. That was about it.
Yeah.
I feel like if the judges saw it anyway near close to being a draw, it would have been a draw. So I think it was, too, convincing enough for the judges to say, you know what, we can't even fool nobody on this. So right. They gave Canelo more rounds than he actually won. So I mean, I'm not tripping over that.
No doubt.
I said about a month and a half ago, I was on this on another podcast. Shout out to Punch Drunk and Boxing Knowledge. Yeah.
No doubt.
So, we had a discussion. This is about a month and a half ago now. Before the fight, just kicking around some names. What do you think? So they still was thinking it was incredulous for us to even think that Bud could beat Canelo. So another name was put out there. So you think he could beat Benavidez? I said, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, he's a dog. You know what I'm saying? You put him in the ring, he gonna fight. You know what I'm saying? So they felt like it was a joke, calling no names. But then another name popped out, Demetrius Andrade. I said, you know what I'm telling you, man? I think Bud can give him a round. We ain't seen Andrade in 2 years. So, the last time we saw him, you're only good as your last fight. He didn't look good. And when you talk about skills, it don't matter, how big you are. Because I've seen little dudes drop big dudes. You know what I'm saying? In street fights, let alone talking about somebody that's, training and got skill that's in the boxing ring, be a professional. So my take on this Benavidez thing is, if Benavidez comes in that ring 200 pounds, and Bud is already 168, and if Bud comes in that ring at 170, Benavidez is going to be slow. We already know David is a volume puncher. So when you're a volume puncher, and Bud is more of a a puncher that's going to punch in between punches. You know what I'm saying? He's a good fighter when it comes to that. That's why Canelo didn't do a lot of chasing around. I don't think that Canelo don't know how to cut off the ring. I think that Canelo was hesitant about cutting off the ring. He didn't feel like he could chase Bud down without getting tagged, and he respected his power. So in saying all that, I just feel like Bud is too much of a good puncher that punches in between punches. He's good in timing. That if David was to do that, because he beats a lot of his opponents by wearing them down, right? Just over punching. You know what I'm saying?
Very similar like Tyson Fury kind of did a little bit, like just as far as the overwhelming them, like drowning them a little bit. That's how Tyson Fury got like a lot of his knockouts, was his ability to do that, hang on people, use his weight, things of that nature. Yeah, I
mean, so his upcoming fight, he's probably gonna win that by gassing them out. You know what I mean? I don't see that being a big fight. I don't even see why that's a main fight. But still the same. I think that Bud could do that. But on the other hand, I feel like if he wanted to go to 160 and he can mop up in 160, he'd only need 2 fights. There's Lara in that division. That's another guy. He got two of the belts.
Yeah, Janibek has 2 of the belts. Arislandi has 1, and then you got Carlos Adames who has the other one, the WBC, the WBA with Arislandi Lara, and the IBF and the WBO with Janibek.
And apparently Adames was getting his hands put on him by Bud and Trent.
Right.
There you go. So this is my theory. I think that these other fighters need to get out here and do some work. We got you got your boy Jerron Ennis. He's at 154. Okay, you take that one fight at 154. We already know he can get big. Go to 160. Challenge yourself, go to 160. Get one of them belts. Because I think Bud can go and he can fight Janibek. And he can snatch 2 of them belts. You know what I'm saying? You got Lara out there. So let's have Ennis go out there and fight Lara. Put in some work. You got to put in some work. You want to be known as the best. If Bud mops up and get undisputed at 160, we talking rare air. We talking some Sugar Ray Robinson air.
I mean, he's already damn near. The thing about it for me with Bud is he's already there. You know what I'm saying? So all he can do is, I mean, if he wants to pad the resume more, and he wants to make it just impossible for somebody else to follow behind him, he can go down that in that direction, right? Oh, hold on one second, because I got a question for you guys on the panel. And then we're gonna land the plane on that one and close out the show. But Warrior Class 3 in here with the $5 holla, man. I appreciate the support today, man, from Warrior Class 3. Sponsored the show today, as far as I'm concerned. Says everybody seems to forget that Bob Arum blocked Bud from getting Pacquiao, because Bud can go 8-0 fighting only champions and fight Floyd last. Let's go 15-0. Ooh,
he ain't gonna fight Floyd.
That would be a crazy fight. Floyd, like a Floyd, Terence Crawford type. Yo, Floyd could fight Mike Tyson. Floyd could fight Terence.
I'm gonna tell you why.
Wait, hold on. Before we get into that, I want to ask this question, because I definitely gotta get out of here soon. Thank you for the support, Warrior Class, and thank you for all the super chats today, man. Great show today. Is Bud a big enough draw? Is he a draw now? Did this win with Canelo Alvarez make it to where he doesn't necessarily have to have the right dancing partner for it to be a big show? Does it have to be the biggest dancing partner, or could he go down to 160, fight the champions, fight Arislandi Lara, do what Canelo has done for years? Could he fight Arislandi Lara and make it a big event, like not pay-per-view, because they're leaving that model, but just make it a big event? Could he fight Janibek and make it a big event? Could he fight Carlos Adames and make it a big event based on the fact that they're champions and that he'd be on a mission to unify? Because I remember when Canelo went on that run, right? When he went and fought Kovalev, when he went and fought Caleb Smith, and all those guys weren't nobody. Canelo made those shows big because of what he brought. Do you think Terence Crawford may have built on his brand enough to where he can make those kind of fights now? Is Terence Crawford a draw now? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, and I say that with the air quotes because there's arguments there to say that he's always been in big shows. Whenever Terence Crawford has fought, it's been the headline a card, but it's always been questions about his drawing ability, his ability to make a legitimate pay-per-view. Bob Arum once said he could buy a mansion off the money he's lost, or like a multi-million-dollar or multiple mansions off the money he's lost investing in Terence Crawford as far as a draw is concerned. Do you guys think he's crossed over into that lane now with this victory over Canelo?
Oh yeah, for certain, because he has the Floyd effect going now. You got more people that's wanting to come see him lose than they want to see him win.
Yep. That was one of my takes too. Exactly what you just said. I was going to say, I mean, as far as him having the hate and people wanting to see him lose, that will bring viewership. But I think the demographic doesn't bring the same fan base as a Canelo or I'm trying to think of anybody else.
Is he the headline? What is it? Is it safe to say that Netflix is a new fan base? And what I mean by that is that. Yeah. Is Netflix equivalent to a damn country? You know what I'm saying? Like, is Terence Crawford officially Netflix's big boxing star? You know what I'm trying to say?
I mean, yeah, he's the Roy Jones, Floyd Mayweather of our era. Absolutely.
Because the people who watch Netflix, the 41 million people who watch Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez fight, there's an argument to say that a lot of them were MMA fans and people who crossed over who were following Dana. You know, there was
fan base, right?
There was a lot of new fans, I want to say, in boxing that night. And are those new fans now? What's the word I'm looking for? Are those new fans now Terence's fans?
Transition.
You know what I mean? Like, have they been
transition?
Now that hold on a second. Now that they've been introduced to the sport on the back end of Terence Crawford defeating Canelo Alvarez, are they now linked to Terence? Are they followers of Terence? Are they Terence Crawford boxing fans now because they don't know the other guys because they ain't really been watching those other guys fight like that? Are they did Terence Crawford bring those guys into boxing and in turn got those guys as fans now?
I'm still going to stand on the fact that I think if they are there to watch him, they're there to watch him lose. I think a lot of these guys came to watch this fight based on the name of Canelo Alvarez. Doesn't mean that they won't support boxing because of that, but those casual fans are already submitted into knowing who the bigger fighters are. Was Terence always a big fighter? Yes, to the boxing space, but outside of boxing, a lot of people just knew him, you know, casually. So when it comes to him being that guy, it might be a lot of people that are upset that he beat Canelo Alvarez and they want to see him lose. So that will draw he's a bad guy. He's desperado, right? That's what he said. So yes, that will bring some people in there. I don't think it generates enough unless he's fighting somebody that's going to be on that stature. He brings a Pacquiao in the ring. He brings a Benavidez in the ring. He brings a David Morrell in the ring. He brings somebody of stature like Fedora in the ring. Yes, he will bring the fan base. If he brings in another Earl Spence fight or a Charlo fight, he's not going to get the support that he will want because one, Charlo's in the same boat. A lot of people don't feel Charlo like that. They think he's just a smoke whistleblower, pause. But I think they just think like he's not that type of fighter that generate that type of semantic. Now, a Tszyu could even bring a big fan base for that fight. Somebody like that. But at the end of the day, Clay, it matters only if it's the right dancing partner, in my opinion.
Okay, that's okay. That answered the question. Yeah, me, I don't know yet. I just thought about it right now as we was all building, and I said to myself, hold on, could he be? You know, I thought about Canelo Alvarez and his run to getting all these, to unifying the 168-pound division specifically, and also even going up there to fight Kovalev in the light heavyweight fight, and how big those fights were. And Kovalev was a nobody. Caleb Smith was a nobody. A lot of these guys who we fought weren't people who anybody cared about. They were just more so excited about the journey of watching Canelo Alvarez unify division and potentially becoming undisputed at 168. That's what the big show was about. It just mattered that it was champions. And I question as to whether or not Terence Crawford would get that same grace if he were to go down to 160, campaign down there to fight, you know, the Erislan, the Lowrys, the Carlos Adameses, and the Janibeks. Could that carry enough weight?
Yes.
Could that carry enough weight just off the strength of him on a journey to become undisputed in another division. Now that the fans see what he did at 168 and become undisputed there, would they be excited to cheer Terence Crawford on or cheer against him chasing undisputed in every belt that he's gaining as he's gaining victories, and he beats a Carlos Adames, then he takes that belt, then he goes up and he fights an Erislandy Lara and takes that belt, then fights Janabek. And you know, how big would that final fight being that Netflix community would be there from the beginning to the end. They'd be there as the casuals that they were coming into the sport, now being locked in with Terence Crawford as far as a representation now, as far as the best boxer in the world, a generational GOAT is what I think most fans walked away from seeing Terence Crawford beat Canelo Alvarez with the buildup. This was Netflix's first real boxing fight where there was a buildup, there was an all access. Dana White invested time into it. They did so much that I think going into this fight, those 70,000 people plus 1,000 people that were in the building and those 41 million people that watched that fight were probably tapped in off the strength of, I wonder if Terence can do this. And if once Terence did it, did they become like, Terence is the best? And now, could he capitalize off that momentum to where the dance partner isn't as much the mission statement as much as the mission is the statement, which is him becoming a 4-weight class undisputed champion? Could these casual fans jump on that type of storyline and be intrigued with that kind of story enough for it to carry itself into big shows?
I'm going to say no to the point of undisputed doesn't mean nothing to casual fans right now. Being a unified champion, that may be more significant. If he can go down there and beat a Janabek and get 2 belts, or just beat a Adames and what's it? I think Janabek will be the fight.
Fans are dialed into that. You don't think those fans that watch that fight have a complete admiration for undisputed? You don't think they captured that moment? You don't think him having all those belts, that Ring Magazine belt, you don't think that was highlighted for those fans?
That's what I was going to point out to you, right? I was going to say, take a look in your screen. Which belts in there stand out the most, right? Only 2 of them. The fan base only knows probably 2 of these belts, which is the ring belt and the WBC. So to them, they have no idea. They don't even know there was a purple WBC belt there.
But they recognize 4-belt era. They recognize all those belts. I think we'll see. I think these fans recognize undisputed. I think with Turkey Alashik and Dana White and all those guys and Nick Khan controlling the marketing, I think they can capitalize off the momentum of that. I think in the spirit of keeping undisputed as the ultimate goal, that story can be, I think they can market that properly and bring the fan base into what that really means, personally.
I mean, anything's possible, Clay. I just think that his going to be based on his opponent. I think Janabek could be the bigger name. I think if he does go for undisputed and he gets 2 belts, if he beats an Adames and he beats Erislandy Lara, right, in a fight, and he gets both those titles, I don't think to the people they would jump on those fights, right? One, even though they're Cuban fighters, the Cuban following will be there, some Latino following, maybe more the Caribbean side will be there. But I don't think he gets like a big jump in the support. I think where the support will come from is if he unifies those 2 belts and then he goes and fights for undisputed with Janabek for full undisputed, yes, that would generate something, because then you have this big name in Janabek with 2 belts, an undefeated fighter and not American, a guy that's been crushing everybody in front of him, fighting Bud Crawford, who just beat Canelo, and going for unification in the mindset of the casual fans. That helps in that case. But him getting, like, let's say he fights Janabek and then goes for the other 2 belts, I don't think it brings that much significance after the Janabek fight. I think a lot of people are going to be turned off because, one, they're going to see 2 black fighters in the ring. And I think that's always been the case with boxing of our era, is the demographic. We will watch the fight. Most people will watch the fight, but I don't think it brings the outside demographics in. And I think that's where the key matters when they don't see that challenge, because it's like you either have the Great White Hope, you have the Great Latino Fight Bash, you have like all that. So without that continuity Puerto Rican versus black, black versus Mexican, Puerto Rican versus Mexican, European versus black, European versus American, European versus Mexican. Those fights always, when you have countries behind you, it always brings much more. Like I said, the Cuban fighters, it may, but I don't think they see those Cuban fighters as Cuban when they see them in the ring. They don't know who these guys are. They don't know nothing about them. How many fighters you seen that were Cuban or Dominican that you didn't even know, like Nova? A lot of people didn't know that. So it goes to show you that the fight will only hold its weight if it was based on significance of another fighter. Yes, the Spence Crawford fight did do well, but the Spence Crawford fight was based on Spence being the headliner, not Crawford, which is Clay's point.
I ain't gonna lie, I disagree, man. I think that the old ways is on its way out the door. I think this new space, I think that Netflix fan base, I think that this casual fan base they're being introduced into boxing in a different way. And I don't think the old ways hold the rules so much right now. I think most, my son, his friends, people who are calling me that were really young, who really saw that fight and got into that fight, I think they got into the undisputed thing. I think they got into that Ring Magazine belt. They got into the 4-belt era and unifying. They got into the 3-weight class undisputed champion, the first of its kind. And I think they can get behind a 4-weight class undisputed champion. I think a lot of fans look at Terence Crawford as the best boxer in the world, bro. And I think he's legitimately transcended the regular rules and jumped into the Floyd Mayweather effect to a certain degree, to where it's either you want to see him win or you want to see him lose. And I think that has so much intrigue behind it. Him pursuing another division and unifying that division may be something that these fans could get behind. I think that it is what it is. But landing the plane there, guys, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here in the building, man. Appreciate all the support, all the super chats that were in the building today, man. Shout out to everybody who jumped up on the panel. Pop Shop Talk to Rich, Bubs. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Everybody, HLD, Coach Eddie, 100%. Salute to all you guys, man. Adult Choice. Salute to all you guys, man. I appreciate you guys. Nothing but love. I got to move on and do what I got to do. Thanks for popping up, Ray. We'll build again. You know what I mean? Probably this weekend, Saturday, we got some big fights. No, do we have some fights coming in? We got Pro Box with a decent card this weekend. We've got we'll talk about it. There's actually a fight on that card that I'm very interested in. And also, shout out to Scooter Davis, just signed a contract with Top Rank. That's what's up. Scooter Davis is a talented fighter from out the DMV area. Shout out to him for sure, man. I'm looking forward to seeing him do some special things, man. It's your boy Clay. It's that ATV Combat Media Show, man. Until the next one. At this point, we out.
I would make it this far. They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitting for it, cause you all cap like. Hold up, I shoot my shot, wait, hold up. I'm really about to run this go up. You know it's all net when it go up. Ain't got no other plans, you don't need to